This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sunset Safari here on the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. I really need to find something else to say at the beginning of each drive. I'm sure it's becoming a little bit like a cracked record. My name is James Hendry. Thank you very much, Louise. Louise is directing today. Craig is on camera. That's his flashing Batman-like thumb. We have ex-Oily on the back, and he will hopefully join us in the presenting hot seat at some stage. Please talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or the chat stream on YouTube. Let us go back now to the main attraction of the day, not me. There is Hosana, the male leopard. He is asleep. Unfortunately, I suspect he'll remain asleep for much of the next 3 hours. We are supposed to be joined at some stage by the Mara team of David Katambagetu and Stephen the Vov Falconbridge. But at the moment, it is heaving out of the sky. And so the two of them have battened down their hatches and are currently sitting in a tent somewhere, well, halfway down the Olololo escarpment, I think. We're also going to be joined by a scout group from a village nearby here. And they're going to pretty much operate the drive a little bit like a school drive. So I hope you're happy with that. It's called the One Group of Scouts, Dixie Youth Centre. First time joining, and they're aged 17 to 18. So we should have a great mix of people there. And they live at Dixie Village, which is just about 5 kilometres outside the gates of the Sabi Sands. For those of you who have perhaps stumbled upon the stream, that is Hosana the male leopard. He is 3 years old in February, so he's almost 3. He's eaten an impala, or a female impala, he killed at the Pan, not far from here yesterday. He also killed a baby impala yesterday, which I think he may have just discarded or devoured in situ, not far from here. So he's eaten a lot of impala over the last 24 hours or so, and that is why he is lying there breathing heavily, despite the fact that the temperature is probably only about 21 degrees Celsius or so, which is about 72. Yes, indeed. For many of you, Thanksgiving is, I think, here today, isn't it? Or was it yesterday? I'm not really sure. And it was his Thanksgiving dinner. We don't really have Thanksgiving in South Africa, of course. And it was yesterday, so that was his perfect Thanksgiving dinner. I'm not sure if he had any pumpkin pie with it. Isn't that a Thanksgiving thing? And he certainly didn't have any turkey. But he is enjoying raw impala. Impala mignon, I think, is what it's called. Yes, or impala carpaccio. Thank you, Louise. Yes, perhaps that is a better description of the kind of impala he's been eating. I'm not sure we'll sit here for the whole of the 3-hour safari if this is all he's going to do. Especially as he hasn't even bothered to look up at us. But we will start here with the scout group. I hope also that it will not just be me mouthing off at you for 3 hours. I hope that there will be somebody else to talk to you, hopefully ex-Oily at some time. And then also, of course, David and the Vov from the Marsi Mara. Otherwise, all is peaceful. One would expect to start hearing the woodland kingfisher at some stage. We do know that they come to this pan quite frequently. We do know that they are here, but they have not started shouting their angry little heads off just yet. Woodland kingfisher, for those of you who are new viewers, an iconic bird of the summer, and we're always deeply grateful when it arrives because it means that summer is here, and we're always twice as grateful when it eventually vacates the area sometime during April, because by then, of course, the sound of its cheerful chip is like a dentist drilling into the middle of your skull. But for now, we are very much looking forward to hearing the first chip. Now, I used to work at a place that was surrounded by mapani, and the mapani trees, of course, make a lot of natural holes, tree holes, because there's a fungus that grows in the heartwood, and that meant that there were endless opportunities for woodland kingfishers to nest there. And so where I used to work, well, basically you couldn't think for the sound of screaming male woodland kingfishers trying desperately to attract ladies with their songs that sounded all exactly the same as each other's. I forget the name, I'm sorry, Louise, of the person who made the comment about this being a superb start to Feline Friday. I didn't know Feline Friday was a thing. Shamel, you say that Feline Friday has started well with Hosanna. Yes, well, if Feline Friday is in fact a thing, then yes, it has started very well with Hosanna, the comatose male leopard. Oh, there we go, a little bit of shaking of the whiskers. How fantastic. Hosanna, you have done very little all day, and it's now time to perform. Perhaps you could do a little bit of running up and down the dam wall here. We could make some lines and see how fast you are, perhaps. You could race ex-oily. Oily doesn't think that's a very good idea. He's looking a little shocked. And just remember, you can talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Alrighty, we are now going to join the One Scout group of Dixie Village. I will now attempt to speak my best Shangaan, which will be very bad. Avsheni kwenu, itsakile ngovu kumivona, ukumiteka noveni, la iko Juma Game Reserve, ile kusui ka Dixie, ile kuswana, la kuna ingwe ne vitrame James, and unga vutisa swivutiso switele intatsaga ku ringeted ku minika nhlamulo. So a very warm welcome to you all. You may ask us any questions you like, and it's great to have you on drive with us. This is Hosanna, the male leopard, Vitraye Hosanna. And iyayetlela ngofu ngoba ijile ngofu ije mala itsama esihlahleni. Can we have a look at the impala there, Craig? You've got it over there. There we go. You can see this is a female impala. Well, you can't really see that, of course, because you can't see if it has horns or not. But there is a female impala. And maybe this leopard will get up and go into the tree and start eating again, but quite possibly he will just sit there. And so we'll sit with him for a little while, and if you've got any questions, otherwise we will move on to something else. All right. So this is one of the most important predators that we have, and I'm going to sit here and wait with him for a little while I send you all the way up to Kenya, Ndamirumela le Kenya, where Steve is waiting.
Afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome, or should I say boys, all the way up to the Mara Triangle in Kenya, where we have got some very big ndlovus there, elephants. My name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Bungay. And, well, let's go over to them. You can see by the fact that I'm standing or sitting inside a sheltered area that there is covers and roofs and all sorts. It is raining. It is raining and raining and raining. And, well, the elephants are loving the daga there, the mud. They absolutely love mud. And you can see there's a whole lot of them there busy kicking the mud and putting it on their bodies. It's the one animal. Oh, you can see that's definitely a boy there, can't you? Yes. And they also like to play a little bit in the mud. Elephants love the moisture and they love the rain. And they're the one animal that when it is raining seems to be having a lot of fun. Most of the other animals just sort of lie down and cover themselves and try and stay as dry as possible, but it's very hard to stay dry out here. You can see the rain falling, but always nice to spend time with the big ndlovus. Elephants, they are the same elephants we find down in South Africa. The African elephant is found all across Africa. And very interestingly, the largest mammal on land in the entire world. You can see boys are pushing and shoving. See how he's got his back legs pushing there. And they use their trunks as well to push. And the tusks, well, if they were fighting, those tusks are like enormous spears that will actually penetrate the skin of the other one. And well, elephants can kill each other with those tusks, but for now they're just boys having fun in the rain. You can probably hear the pitter-patter of rain on the roof. It is the second rainy season up here in Kenya. Down in South Africa, it's the rainy season there as well, but now we're getting our second rainy season. Wow! Hello, Dixie Scouts. You wanted to know how much water an elephant needs in a year. Well, that is... wow, we're going to have to work that out with a calculator because it's very hard. 150 litres or so, maybe 100 litres per elephant per day. So 365 days in a year. So that's 365,000 litres one elephant will need in the year. Isn't that incredible? That's a lot of water. Elephants need lots of water. There you can see he's throwing the mud on his back. Right now, they're not drinking it. They're throwing it on. Love the mud. It helps to cool them down, and also any insects, biting insects that might come along, keeps them away. It's like a sun cream as well. I know it's quite something in a lot of African cultures to cover your skin in certain types of mud. Good for the skin. Here we go, boys are playing again. So elephants need lots of water. They need lots of food as well. So that is the important thing about elephants when it comes to conservation. Because elephants need so much water and so much food, we need such big areas to conserve them. And when you conserve elephants, you conserve absolutely everything else underneath. Well, I am not alone out in the Mara. My friend David Gitu is around the corner, and he's got a very interesting bird.
Well, boys and girls, you have been seeing a lot since the drive started, and I guess you must have seen a leopard somewhere in South Africa, and my friend Steve have shown you big elephants. I want to show you something completely different, and I'm showing you a bird that I'm not sure what she is trying to kill, and when they look for food, they always hunt using their feet, and they'll trample on things like that, be it rodents, be it snakes, be it lizards. That's how they kill things. My name is David, and on camera with me today is James. When James does that, it's a sign of good luck. Like elephants, when they do like that, it's always a sign of good luck. James, is that true?
Yes.
All righty. Very good. Now, we'll go back to our bird, and I'm going to tell you a small story about that bird we are watching there. Or did the bird disappear? Oh, no. So it's not very far. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to drive forward a few meters. And in fact, now, instead of showing you one, I might even show you two. James, let me know when to stop. Keep going, James. Keep going. There? All right. James have told me to stop there. Because initially, boys and girls, I'm sure you remember we saw one bird, but now we got two. So having missed one, it has brought another one. I'm sure you have all been told by James and Steve that your questions are what that keep us going, and your comments, and you can do that through your teachers. So I told you that bird is called the secretary bird, And I'm sure you all know eagles, like the American eagle or the bald eagle. And this bird is in the same family with the eagles. In the background, you see an antelope, and that antelope is called a topi. But James loves this bird, and what she's doing, she's looking for food on the ground. And there are two of them, and I would guess it is a boy and a girl, or sometimes you like saying a male and a female. I'll tell you why we call them secretary birds. Long time ago, I'm sure way back, I'm sure even before your parents were born, we had secretaries who were doing office work, and we did not have computers or iPads those days. They used a gadget or a machine called a typewriter, and the typewriter, you had to use your fingers to write something, and there was a paper on it. Now, I want to demonstrate to you what I'm talking about. Way back, the typewriter had a keyboard, like just the keyboard we have on our phones, but there were big buttons like that. And the typist or the secretaries used to hit one button, one button, one button, one button. Now, these birds here, when they kill the food they eat, rodents, mice, or rats, that's how they kill them, like that. And that's why we call them the secretary birds. Make sense? Okay, maybe you might see more, or we might see something else, but for a reason, we are going to move. You notice my car, the flaps are down, just like for Steve. It's because where we are in Kenya, it's drizzling. Nicola, thank you very much. You're the very first one to ask me a question. And what is that bird looking for? When birds look for something to eat, we say they're hunting. And what they're looking for, it's called prey. Now, from this area where we are in the grass, it could either, Nicola, be looking for a mouse or a rat or an insect of a kind, for example, a grasshopper or a cricket or a cicada or even a snake or a lizard. So anything that could be moving. So most eagles, we say they're carnivores because they eat other living things. So eagles are carnivores. So I would say that is what both of those birds are looking in the grass. Sometimes they walk in the grass, they disturb the grass, and if there's anything, the grass jumps up and then they pick it up. If it's something so big, that's when they're going to kill it, like how I was demonstrating before. Sounds good, eh? All right. And if you see maybe a snake or a mouse, we'll let you know. All right, we'll keep driving and I'll take you all the way to South Africa to my other friend called Ndoli, and he got something nice for you.
Yes, David, I've got something nice. My name is Oli. James Henry gave me a chance to be with you guys. Hopefully you're going to enjoy the sighting. We have Hosanna, the male leopard. He's a son to Tingana. Tingana is not here. He went to the other side, but they are staying in one territory. He's not a territorial leopard yet because he's still very young. Oh, what a good question, Loveness. Loveness wants to know what's the meaning of Hosanna. Hosanna, it means the little chief in English. In Shangaan is Hosanna. I'm sure you've heard that name. It's not a foreign name. It's a normal name in the Shangaan clan. As you are in a Shangaan village, I believe the person who asked the question is a Shangaan. So if you can see now, Hosanna, oh, he's looking straight at us. Hosanna, he's been feeding all day long today because he has a big carcass to feed on. You can see now he's breathing heavily. You can see the stomach goes in and out so quick because he has much to digest. Oh, Tuanati, I think I got your name right there. You want to know what is Hosanna doing on the road? As you can think, on the road is not a safe place to be, but here it's safe for Hosanna because this is the wilderness. They belong here, so they give us nice sightings. He's lying, oh, here he's yawning. He's lying on the road because I think you can see the weather is cloudy and a little bit cold. The cars were driving over this place, so it's warmer at the spot where he's at now. So that's why he preferred to be on the road. It's much warmer than in a tree. He's looking around now. Look at the ears. Oh, he's scratching. Even if he's so full, that doesn't mean that he won't hunt if any opportunities avail itself. As we saw yesterday when he killed that impala lamb. He was full, there was a carcass in the tree, but because the lamb was so close to him, so he killed it because they have this instinct to kill, even if they won't devour that prey. While Hosanna is yawning, I think we're boring him in the moment. Let's go to Steve with the eagle in the Mara.
Well, indeed, it is an eagle, Holly, but not a true eagle. You can see it's got a beautiful yellow eye, and the head is quite puffy. And, well, this is a bird that likes to eat snakes, nyokas. This is the black-chested snake eagle. We do find this in South Africa. And we also get the brown snake eagle, and they look very similar with the eye and the head, except this one has got the white belly. You can see that. But if you look close on the legs, you see the legs? They aren't feathers all the way to the feet. Having feathers all the way to the feet is what makes an eagle an eagle. And this one doesn't have feathers there because they like to catch snakes, and so it makes better sort of sense to have a very thick legs that don't have feathers, because if you have feathers on your legs, it means you've got blood vessels all the way to the surface of the skin, and if a snake bites you on the leg, well, they will die. They're sitting on top of a beautiful shepherd's tree. Birds sometimes enjoy the rain. They enjoy it towards the end, once it starts to dry up again. They like the rain because it helps to clean them, but they don't, especially big birds, they don't do much flying when it is raining like this because their feathers are very wet. It makes them very heavy. Like if you've ever gone and picked up a towel that is wet and thrown it in the air, well, it falls down very quickly because it's very heavy. Birds that are sitting in the tree, their feathers get very heavy when they're wet, and so they'll rather try to shake it off before flying. Pretty much everything stops moving in the rain except for rhinos and elephants and hippopotamuses. Fuvu. But a very pretty bird. Very common up here in the Masai Mara. We do see them in South Africa, in the Sabi Sands and Djuma, but not as common down there, I think, as the brown snake eagle. So we're going to continue on into the area to our left, which is called the marsh, and hopefully it's not too wet on the roads, otherwise we're going to be slipping and sliding. And see what we can find. You can see there's rain everywhere. Hopefully it starts to slow down a bit because it's been raining for about an hour now already. Very nice though. We need the rain. Rain is very important. The rain goes into the ground. I know down in Djuma you're crying for rain down that side. The rain goes into the ground and it collects all the nutrients in the soil, and then the grasses and the trees pick up the nutrients. Very important for their survival. But let's quickly go down to that Madoro Ingwe who's on the move.
Sorry, beautiful kids, because Hosana had a move now, but he went back to lie down there comfortably. I don't think he's thinking to going back to the tree because not comfortable there. Here on the road is much comfortable than the tree. This is Hosana. Lui, hi Hosana. Yingwe yawanuna. I think I'm right. Yes, I'm not a Shangaan, but I'm trying my level best to accommodate you guys with your language. Oh, Siyabonga, you want to know why Hosana is alone? Hosana is alone because leopards are solitary, they live alone, but now Hosana is in his father's territory. His father is not here, and Usalis Tongwana, una malembe amaitari, and in next year, utafamba ndaweni ya baba ye. But now, Hosana utsamile sweswi unenyama le esihlahleni. I think he prefers to be alone now because he's a grown-up. He doesn't like being around parents because he has some other stuff to do alone. But normally, leopards, they are solitary, they stay alone. But this one is staying with the whole family. I got the question there, but I didn't get the name. This student wants to know how many cubs Hosana have. Oh, Ruth. I think I got it right. Hosana won't give birth. He will impregnate another female because Hosana asimfati yuawanuna. Ombona sesi utsamile and inkulu yingwe yabasati isongwana kuna yingwe le where you looking at right now on the screen. Believe, what a nice question. I'm not really sure what's the lifespan of Hosana, but his father is 13 years old now. It is believed that the leopards can live up to 20 years. Hopefully Hosana is gonna live up to that age. And sometimes leopards, because they involve themselves in such brutal fights, they can live up to 15 years or less. And if Hosana is taking a very good care of himself, he will live a longer life than expected from a leopard. Look at those ears now. Mbuli, ulaba kutiba uri, Hosana unamalemba mangaki swi. Hosana usarisitongwana mara ubona ngati unkulu ngofu. Hosana uwendla malembe ama naru 3. Lembe leltago hi February. He's a big cat now. That's why it's not believable that he's 3 years old. He's about 3 years old. These cats can grow very fast. There's an alarm call going on that side. I think I can move forward and get a much closer look. Hopefully will tell the pattern of the animal, because they have different patterns. Oh, sorry about that. You can think that this is a cheetah, but it's not a cheetah, it's a leopard. I'm trying to get a nice view here. I think you're enjoying what is happening right now. Hosanna is a big cat now. He's not territorial yet, but he can take kills into a tree. He's a big guy, a big boy. He's able now to take big kills in a tree. But for him to do that, he has to eat first the internal parts to reduce the weight of an animal to take the prey into a tree. I've seen that, and hopefully you're gonna see Hosanna climbing the tree again to feed on his carcass. But sweswi wa mbona uri usatsamile ukarele ushure ngopfu. I don't think there's gonna be much activity happening right now. Even if there's no activity happening, it's so great and beautiful and heartwarming to watch such cats. This is beautiful. Look at the tail there. You can ask yourself, ipasengofu. While I'm busy looking at this pretty animal with you guys, let's go to Steve in the Mara with a toppy.
Well, thank you, Clay. We are with one of the fastest antelope species. Down in South Africa, we will call this a tsesabi, and up here it's a topi. They are related. They are very similar to each other, and this is one big male. Very, very fast. And very good eyesight. They like to be out in these open areas. You can see how nice and open it is around here. There's not too many areas in the Sabi Sands that are open like this. And this is where the topi or the tsesabi like to spend their time. They feed on grass. And the grass, after the rainfall, picks up nutrients in the soil and then gets nice and green and very tasty. And that's what the topi like to enjoy. He's walking through the wetness, trying to, I don't know what he's doing actually. I thought he would just stand still or sit down in the same place. He's maybe looking for something to stand on top of. They like to stand on top of shudulus, on top of big termite mounds, and then they look around and make themselves look very big and very strong. And obviously all the lady topi will see how big he is. Here we go. Isn't he beautiful? You see the back, it's like a hyena. The back legs are short and the front legs are longer. That is what makes them able to run very fast over a long distance. And when they start running, they don't stop. He's got a little bit of grass still sitting in his mouth. Off he goes. Oopsie, there we go. There's the running I was talking about. A marathon runner. He can keep up that speed for a very long time. He's only going very slowly there. We might lose him as he goes in front of our car. But he's a bit worried. I don't know. He's looking at us going, what do you guys want? So the biggest threat to adult topi would be most definitely lions, and then also clans of hyena. So clans of Mnisi and the prides of Ngala will definitely catch topi if they can. Decorate, I don't actually know what it's doing. It's walking around. I'm trying to figure it out myself. Maybe he's a bit worried because we're watching him. He's getting a bit nervous inside. There he goes. Look how quick he is. Oh, and he can... Oops, he's gone in front of our car. I'm terribly sorry. We are still trying to hide from the rain, Decorate. So we've got this shelter over here because the rain's coming from behind me. And, well, it's still raining very hard. We've got lots of very expensive equipment on board that we can't let the rain get in. So hopefully the rain doesn't creep in. But down in South Africa, that male leopard you've met, Hosana, he's creeping around.
Yes, Steve, Hosana is creeping into something. Hey, bangani bami. Hey, misale ule kufambeni sweswi ngihleketa hore ita hunter sweswi. Le hentle kuna timala. Ngita nitshengisa to. Ita famba nyana sweswi. Ngihleketa hore ita bona action sweswi. So, slowly. Aiden, ita bula katsongo sweswi cause Hosana ulabo kuhunta ne. So bangani bami itsamile hansi futhi. Hosana is in South Africa. South Africa sweswi hila ijuma bari hila kusungula na juma bangani bami. Xikolo xa hina xila kusungula na ndhawu leyi yi nga kona sweswi. There are impalas. We have impalas on our left. Hopefully, Hosana is gonna hunt. Utas bonesa atimaka sweswi Hosana utadlaya xin'wanyana. Even if he's full, he can hunt because timala leti atiboni uri Hosana ule kusuhana na to. Shangani shame shananzika ne angisimshangana me yindebele mara ngithame namashangana nkarhi wa kuleya so bangijonisa kubulabula shangana bangani bami ngiyasikota ne nasikota asi engalini swisi singala yingwe. So now he's sitting there. Ngihleketa ure ufamba katsongo ulabo khomanyana xilo xa kudya. Una shona le esihlahleni mara. Because there are impalas next to him, he will try by all means to catch one. You can see now Yingwele, it's confusing with Shinkankanka. Undahleketa uri maybe xkankanka mara akshi xkankanka lexi yingwe xkankanka it has spots and yingwe it's got rosettes. Let's move forward and see bone kuri Hosana uya kwini. Ngitamlandela swisi. Tamlandela swisi. I can't. He's cheating now. And you wato sweswi sinyonyanas sharasa ngufu cause sibona yingwe sinyonyana na sibona yingwe sharasa zvela sinyonyana the other ones that yingwe iko kwala ikusuwana to so sweswi sinyonyana leshi xitabbyela mhala leriya uri kuna nkinga kwalana. Bangani bami yingwe lwe asi xkankanka ativa uri xkankanka xina spots lwe ina ti rosette. If ubuka kahle ubukisa its skin there, its fur, let's see its fur and show these guys the difference between the leopard and the cheetah. Bangani bami wabona la ematihlweni la akuna line that goes straight to the mouth, and the cheetah has a line that goes straight to the mouth. And look at the body, the spots tako. The roundinyana, snashilo shesh brown, nkari wako. My Shangan is nice today. I'm gonna be a Shangan starting from today. This language is very nice. Ngizama nguvu wula na inabangan ba me is Shangan. Ngita ringeta namuhla ngita Jones. He's lying flat. Uyetlele suesui. Yingo ya ina. Wabona suesui yetlele mara tindlebe taye. Atka tshamiseki. Yes, Trudy. Hosanna has other siblings. Hosanna has a sister, and Hosanna has a father. Hosanna has a cousin. Seswaye itandi ngemboni swesi ule kulelwe natingana papa waye. Then Tandi unasitongwana i-cousin yalwi. Bari Tlalamba. Mara ungakona wasitiwa uri Tlalamba rawuring angishikuti ati ngitavutisa mara uri Tlalamba rawurini. Yes, Hosanna, he's looking lonely now because there's no one around, but the relative though una to titele ngopfu uyatonga ingisel wamuta machindana imachindani iskureni ubonile yingwe, that's why ayendla so. What? This is beautiful. Kusaseke ngofu. Yey, kusasekile bangani bamene. Ungethembi uri siyo lesi sendleka sweswi sikwala suwana we uthamile esikolweni sweswi sithamile yina ithamile kwala ekhwatini sibulabula lesi shakusaseka so bari yingwe siyo lesi ingozi ngopfu ungelabi ukusikhoma ungelabi uyendla nthumo stakudlaya mara saseke ngopfu. This is beautiful. Bangani bami. Oh, Loveness, what a nice question. Hosanna, why Hosanna has to be solitary? Loveness, that thing comes instinctively, like naturally. Because that's how they survive and that's how they're used to. But these days we've seen Hosanna, ana baba waye, na seso waye, na cousin yaye. Hey, makalwena me angi komi kahle mara. In most cases, leopards, they prefer to be alone because they have to camouflage. They don't want to be detected by any other predators or prey. So they need to stalk. Just imagine stalking on a group. Sometimes it's not worth it, but now it's good. They're alone, chilling nicely there. He's digesting whatever he ate this morning and early afternoon. He's gonna go back to a tree, but I don't know when he will. Dixie Scouts, he wula na toli, and then itshamisekile sweswi ngijabule ngopfu ukuvulavula na yina. Hopefully next time we're going to be presenting to you guys while we are live here at SafariLive in Chuma. Just kusuwana na yina. Mbongile. While we watching Hosanna digesting his food, let's go to the Mara with Davido.
Very good, Zoli, for having spotted Hosanna. And I'll tell you, leopards, some like, the fully grown males like Tingana have been known to bring down big prey, including the zebra that we got on the frame here. Is spitting here. I would say it was raining heavily earlier, but now it's spitting. And you've got two zebras, not very comfortable with the rain, I would guess. And that's why they're not staying stationary and grazing. They're going picking some grass, crossing the road there, and staying on the move. If you look in the background, that's a wall of rain. And this is what exactly is happening right now in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. But I'm not surprised because we have the short rains, the onset of short rains, which to me have come rather late. They should have started way back in October. But the weather pattern in East Africa, I would say, or basically the whole of Africa, have been very erratic in the last couple of years. Behind that zebra, we have a topi. And these two don't seem bothered by the rain. They'll keep grazing and enjoying the soft grass that since the last 3-4 days is shooting up, and it must be green and very nutritious grass. Toppies remind me of the sesame in South Africa. Sesame being a little bit darker than the toppy that you see there. That was the lilac-breasted roller. I guess that just flew past those two species of animals, very close to each other. And remember, this is a very interactive safari that we do. So should you have any questions or comments, send them through using hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. This is the Barchel's zebra, or the common zebra, one of the species that we have in Kenya, and the other species being the gravy zebra that you find north of the equator. It's so interesting. Some couple of years ago, we had some researchers who were following the gravy zebra, and they thought they would introduce them to the area or to the south of the equator, and unfortunately they did not survive. So many questions even today remained unanswered. What could have transpired? It was only two, a male and a female, and they thought that could be the genesis of another herd of the gravies south of the equator, but they did not survive. But what is interesting, if you go to the north of Kenya, you get both species. This one here, which we call the common zebra or the Barchel's, and you also get the other. But the gravies did not survive south of the equator. And people are like, could it have been water? Who knows? Could it have been the type of food that they could not get? And they survived only for 3 months. Then they died. All right. So that's a very interesting question. Do the toppies, where did the toppies go, James, and the zebras ever come into conflict? Absolutely not. Look how close they are, and my guess is they are, what, 3 meters apart? You have your space, I have my space, you have your food, I have my food. And you can tell, very peaceful, kind of coexistent the two species got. Very unusual, and in general, herbivores will coexist comfortably, and I'm talking of zebras with toppies, elephants with rhinos, buffaloes with all the other animals. What will not coexist peacefully will be the predators. It's very difficult to see a lion and a hyena there, or a cheetah and a leopard there. Carnivores, not at all. But herbivores, I think they have huge space and lots of food to eat. But carnivores, because of what we call predator competition, they always go for each other. So that gap has never been noticed for animals, unless if they have a commonality and one is trying to snatch food from the other, and you're like, if I don't eat now, I may not get food the next 1 hour or 1 day. Cotton, I'm not sure you asked what the lifespan of a zebra. Could I be right? The average lifespan, I could have forgotten, Courtney, but I think is about 20 years. I'll confirm to you in a minute. As you keep looking at that zebra, I always have a master book that I've kept all this lifespan of these beautiful animals we got in Africa. As James keep showing you that zebra there, I first said 20. I could be wrong. And you can imagine how many animals we got here in Africa. Loads and loads of animals, and we try to keep their ages or lifespan, gestation period, their behavior in our minds and sometimes our heads. Oops. Now, there's a new species of animal there that you see running there, and that one there is called a hartebeest, and it's very similar to, well, not similar per se, it's very close or similar to the topi, but that one is called a hartebeest. That's a hartebeest there. And where is the zebra here? I'll be getting the zebra in a couple of minutes. Yeah, that's called a hartebeest, and they're very closely related to the topis, and not as many as topis. And you don't see the hartebeest when you go to South Africa. You'll only see them where we are. Okay, and I'm looking for the zebra. I said 20 years. You may have to stick with that for now, but as soon as I double confirm, yes, I now got it. I said 20 years, and my document is telling me 22. So I think I was right. It's anything between 20 to 22 years is the lifespan of the zebras. And you notice they've come together again, 2 zebras and 1 topi, and the topi is having a toilet break. And the zebras don't look very bothered. Well, the rains still continue here, but that will not deter us from looking for some wonderful animals for you. And my plans are to look for any lions I might get in the rain. But in the meantime, we'll find out what plans Steve Ovo got.
Well, the objective actually, David, is to not get stuck and to stay dry. We seem to have moved out of the rain shadow at the moment. Hello everybody. But the roads are very, very wet, and well, hopefully today I do not become part of the Marshmallow Club. The roads are not ideal, so we're just driving along the marsh at the moment, but some of these roads are beyond drivable, so we're going to think about our options. But here is an elephant that is very wet and well, has probably been enjoying the rain more than we have. We've only just lifted up our sides, and the rain is still a little bit south of us, might be moving. We can see it fall in there. That's where David is, so he's probably still in the brunt of it, but hopefully it's moved off for now, because it seems to have abated slightly from where we are right now. So he's quite relaxed on his own. Maybe a young bull standing there, he's actually watching us, you can see that. Now trying to figure out exactly if we are anything of interest. Just standing there, not feeding, watching us with his eye there. Child of the universe, you want to know what limits the population growth? Well, nothing really. If anything, around sort of the Kenyan area, I suppose poaching would be the limiting factor on growth of elephants. But there's an abundance of food and wide open spaces for them to move and to roam. So it would be influenced by our interaction with people. And while poaching, unfortunately, of elephants is still a reality across the African continent, and no much more so in big national parks where people do still come in. And ivory poaching, although it's not spoken about as much as rhino poaching is these days, is still a really big problem. I mean, in Kenya, they actually have a limited number of elephants. When you think about South Africa and Botswana, where for many, many years there's always been discussions of legalizing the trade in ivory due to the fact that southern African countries have got enormous amounts. Kenya was one of the countries that was against it because their elephants were on the decline in certain areas within Kenya, the national parks, because fortunately ivory is still very well utilized across the world. China, I think, passed a ban on ivory not so long ago, which I think will actually play a huge part in the sort of lowering of any elephants that are being removed from the population. But up here, elephants are doing very well. There's lots of water, there's plenty of food, and those are pretty much the limiting factors. Space is not a real issue out here. It's just the combination of elephants and people that are generally the problem. That is definitely where elephants have their biggest issues in the world that we live in. So we're going to move on along, and hopefully we don't get stuck. What's very interesting about an elephant's foot is that so here's their foot, but imagine my hand is an elephant's foot. Now this is the foot as it's being pushed onto the floor, and as it pushes onto the floor, it does this, and as it releases, it does that. So an elephant that steps into the mud actually pushes the mud away, and as it releases the foot, it pulls out again. And they've got four-wheel drive with all four legs, so they don't get stuck like any other animal does. All the other animals that you know out here with the hooves, they've got that dew claw, which is about halfway up the sort of wrist here, and that dew claw is supposed to help them, because when the hoof goes in, it spreads, and that dew claw is actually sort of supposed to stop it from going too deep in, so the animal can get out. But elephants, with the way their foot spreads and contracts again, actually is quite helpful in helping them get out of mud. They love the mud. I've never seen one stuck. If anything, they roll out in it, wallow on it. We can go back. He's turned and showing us a very nice sort of profile. A little bit of white on the eyes. I've been asked many times, what is that white? And essentially, I just think it's accumulation of dust. And like we get sleep in our eyes, our eyes go through sort of a process of cleaning themselves, and you get that gunk down in the bottom around the tear duct. That's pretty much what it is. It's the dust that accumulates. The elephants secrete similar sort of tears on the eyes as we do, and then it comes out as a little bit of a white secretion. Okay, well, it seems as if James is bouncing between himself and Holly on the little chief, so let's go over and see what interesting facts he's got for you.
I'm not sure I've got anything interesting to tell you about this cat. He's fast asleep. I will tell you that Oily has returned to his perch at the back. I said to him, "Do you want to carry on?" And he looked at me with horror, and I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Well, nothing's going on here. I don't know what I'm going to talk about." And I find myself in roughly the same sort of feeling. And I will just tell you that Patrick Fitzgerald has just called in a herd of buffalo at Buffelshoek Dam, and he said, and I quote, "Attention all stations, I've just found a herd of buffalo at Buffelshoek Dam in the mud," which of course must be sending everybody on the Game Drive radio into something of a quandary as to who on earth invited Crocodile Dundee to work a tumour. Oh, he hasn't. I see what he did. He didn't use the Game Drive radio. He used the Final Control radio. Okay, well, that's interesting. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Hosanna not doing a great deal, and I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea actually for us to go and see the herd of buffalo. So I think once we've enjoyed Hosanna's bottom canines that he's showing us very beautifully, I always like a bit of a canine photograph. Nice canines, Hosanna. Naturally, I can't find the cat with my illegally poised camera. That's what I'm trying to do. It's gracious me, he's invisible to my camera. There he is, I got him. Child of the universe, I'm not sure there's a limit to how many impalas Hosana would stash in trees. Obviously, leopards are complete opportunists, and so he will stash or he'll catch and kill and then stash anything he can. I imagine there probably is a limit, though. He probably wouldn't spend a great deal of time trying to hunt if he had 2 or 3 stashed. But, if he gets thirsty and he goes down to the water and there are constantly impala there, well, then I suppose, yes, he may well seek to catch another one, regardless of what he has stashed about the place. Leopards, of course, are well known for keeping pantries. It's not unusual. And I don't know where the little one went, the one that he killed yesterday. It was yesterday morning. I don't know where that one went. I don't know if he devoured it straight away or if he just discarded it and left it. Apparently he was very fat this morning, but of course he has still got a lot of impala left in the jackalberry tree. Okay, I've had enough of the sleeping cat. I will come back here a little bit later, see if he's climbed back into the tree. For now, I think let's go and see if we can find the herd of buffalo that are playing around in the mud, not too far from here. Attention all stations. One has mind of Patrick Fitzgerald as a junior Crocodile Dundee standing. I'm assuming you've all seen that film, and I assume you've seen the film with him staring down a water buffalo in Australia. And it'd be quite funny to watch Fitzgerald try and do that with a Cape buffalo at Buffelshoek Dam. That was a great film. Paul Hagen. You can go and Google Crocodile Dundee now. His name's Paul Hagen. He lives in Australia still. Oh my goodness gracious me, nearly turned the car over. That wasn't much fun. And he's got the whitest teeth of any man you've ever seen. They're the whitest teeth. I don't believe they're his own. I'm pretty sure that they were put in his head by a dentist. A pretty skilled one. So off we shall tootle to Buffelshoek Dam. Got quite an international cast of characters at the moment, of course. We have Lauren with her soft Edinburgh burrel. She thinks I have a terrible Scottish accent. She is, of course, wrong. I have a beautiful Scottish accent. We have ex-Oily, whose Shangaan is not quite as good as I thought it was, but it's not bad. Goodbye, you fat cat. See you later. We'll come back, don't worry. He's now spooning a little pile of dung. Very nice. It is raining in the Mara again, so you're going to have to stick with me. I think when I was there for 2 weeks recently, it was the only 2 weeks during which there was only one rainstorm that the Mara has ever had. It was wonderful. We had there were 2 or 3 times we had to put down the covers, but not a lot. In the last few days, it seems to have really started pounding in. The Vov is managing to get out a little bit of a picture from the Mara, so let's go across to him now. I think he's got what we're going to find.
Well, we have found you some African or Cape buffalo, and we were hoping to maybe get a close-up on their foot, so you can get an idea of that dew claw I was talking about. But unfortunately the grass is a bit long, and well, we can't see it now. But there is a lesser greyback shrike that is in attendance, following the buffalo through the long grass as they push the insects away. There comes the second one. Nice insectivorous bird. They're loving the rainfall. There's probably all sorts of insects that have bloomed, we've noticed in the last few days. If you leave your tent open for 5 minutes, well, all sorts of creepy crawlies sneak inside. Plenty of them. It's a symbiotic relationship called commensalism, whereby the bird benefits from the buffalo's actions, but, well, the bird does not influence the buffalo in any way. The buffalo right now probably enjoying the moist grass, drinking as they feed. Highly dependent on water, buffalo. Highly dependent, having to drink at least 2 times a day. Not sure if you can hear the thunder in the background. The buffalo are not too bothered by it. Small herd of buffalo bulls, it seems, Dugger boys. And those of you who've never heard the term Dugger boy before, Dugger is actually the Zulu and Shangaan word for mud. And so they are often associated with mud wallows, covered in mud, which they like to do to keep away the biting flies, and also suffocates many of the ticks that are associated with the buffalo. Buffalo have an enormous amount of ticks that frequent their bodies, sucking their blood. Hello, Aiden, age 7. I'm not sure exactly what he said about the car, Lou, but I'd love to answer that question from Aiden. He said something about how do I do something with my car when I'm in the middle of nowhere. Ooh. Hello, Aiden. You want to know where we get our petrol from? Well, this car actually, interestingly enough, takes diesel, but we've got a mechanic that comes in from one of the local villages. He comes in 3 times a week, and he brings these big 20-litre jerry cans for us, and he helps us to put the fuel in that way. The lodge that's next door to us, called Angama, they've got an enormous tank, very similar to what you might see at a gas station, and they have a truck that comes in every now and again and fills that tank for them, and that's how they get their fuel. But a very good question, very good question, because, well, without the fuel, we wouldn't be able to drive these vehicles around. We would have to only walk. But that would be wonderful, to be able to walk everywhere. Just like the buffalo. Oh, and there's a female at the back. So I was wrong in saying this was a buffalo herd, a group of bulls. It is in fact one female that I can see, and there might be a couple more females. Just have someone driving past whose fan belt squeaked there, you might have heard. We don't have a fan belt in this car that I'm aware of. There's one female with a whole lot of boys. Isn't she lucky? Louise was joking, thinking it was a bird. Nothing like the squeaking sound of a fan belt to wake you up in the morning. There you can easily see the one in the sort of the middle to the right of the photo, of the picture I mean, is a female. She doesn't have a very well developed boss on the front of her forehead. She's got the horns so she can protect herself, but she doesn't fight against other buffalo. Roshni, you are 100% right. There's 2 options here. She's either extremely happy or not. And the attention of the males, well, let's see what happens. But it's not often you see a small group of males with just one female. But chances are there's probably a whole lot more buffalo in the thickets there. We just can't see them. This is probably the remnants of a herd that has been moving through. And maybe some of them on the other side of that thicket. We just can't quite see them. But you don't often find females on their own. So, Chad, you want to know if buffaloes are introverts? Well, they like spending time together, so they're quite extroverted when it comes to hanging out with buffalo. But when it comes to hanging out with anyone else, they're very introverted. They are a very species-specific animal. And the only thing that hangs out with them really are birds in the form of oxpeckers. Here you can see the lesser grey-backed shrike, and also we get cattle egrets that like to follow them around. But other than that, buffalo don't really like any other species. They like the smell of themselves, the smell of other buffalo. Yeah, but buffalo elitists and their bird servants, indeed, Lou, they are being serviced all the time. And now that is another female on the right there. So there are at least 2 ladies in this herd. And there's probably more, as I said, we just can't see it. They're on the other side of the thicket, maybe. They've still been bedding up in the rain. Often what you'll see, and you've probably seen it with cows, we do see it in South Africa anyway, when there's a thunderstorm approaching, cattle will often sit down and sort of find a nice shady spot, or a dry spot, should I say, to keep themselves for while the rain passes. Because, well, the storms often around here come and go. It doesn't work in the UK because it's always raining, so the cows are very confused. Mr. Public, well, that is a very interesting question. Well, she would be a queen then, wouldn't she? She would be a queen with her soldiers, with her buffalo boys. Almost sounds like a band, doesn't it? The Queen and the Buffalo Boys. So it is indeed a matriarchal society in a herd of buffaloes, with the females are in charge and the boys just come and go. Buffalo George. Queen and the Buffalo George. Well, here we got one of the shrikes decided to come and see if we're going to feed it some insects. Beautiful birds. And I got their identification extremely wrong last week. And thanks to Manu and Dr. Owen and others for correcting me there. A very, very beautiful bird. And they're in very high abundance at the moment, moving through, migrating. Many of them will stay in the Mara due to the food resource and the abundance of insects that will no doubt follow the rains that we are having at the moment. And you could see it was all puffed up from the water, almost doubled in size. Well, we're going to continue on. Down the road we go. Who knows what we might be able to find. This is Black Rhino country. And, well, bat-eared foxes are down the way as well. So who knows what we're going to see. Well, it seems as if James has got not what is confused here as in two females and some boys. James has got the real thing.
Yes, we have the real thing, a breeding herd of buffalo attempting, I'm not sure to do what, in what used to be a waterhole, is now not even a mud wallow. It is just a bit of dry, cracked dirt with a couple of fish bones in it. They're just sort of milling around, looking confused. Of course, buffalo look confused as a matter of course. Now, there are some in the mud, and the little bit of mud that there is left there. Off to the right, left, that's it. I could go a little bit closer, I suppose. Shall I do that, Craig? Would that be helpful? Let's go a little bit closer to those beefies. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I am personally of the opinion that there is a lack of wit when it comes to buffalo, and I shall justify my assertion with the following. As I said in one of my SafariLive voiceovers with the Sausage Street Pride and the buffalo, these things would never get eaten by lions if all they did was to stand together, present a united front, and then walk slowly towards the lions. The lions would run away from them, because lions are afraid of buffalo. But they cannot get it in their heads to do this. Instead, they run away in panic and then snort, and one will come back and one will run away, and they'll leave their children behind by mistake in a panic, and then sort of come back and maybe try and help them, and then everyone belches and burps and moos and snorts, and eventually by the time the dust settled, the lions are on top of one of them and having a good meal. So I just think that there's a lack of self-control, if you like, lack of calm under pressure from the buffalo. Now, this used to have a bit of water in it, and in fact what we have here is now mud, and this is the fault of the buffalo. They've come in here, there were probably a few puddles left to drink in. They've all stepped in it, and now it has churned it up into mud. And there is now no more, officially, water in Wiffelshoek Waterhole at all. Further evidence that the buffalo IQ, or ability to think in a lateral manner, he is not particularly impressive. This bunch isn't even making burping noises. I think they're feeling a little bit depressed. Yes, Niconico viewer, they are absolutely wallowing in the mud as a form of insect repellent, and also just because it's nice. I think it's warm, it's soft, and it's very pleasant. If you look at that one there, he's just laying his head down, feeling rather pleased, I think, with himself at the moment. But the mud does help them with parasites. They rub it off. It helps them keep cool on a hot day. It's not a hot day today. It's probably about 21 degrees Celsius or so, which, if I'm not very much mistaken, is about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's all rather sweet. I mean, if you look, if we go over to the one just behind, you can see his head is completely rested. Now, another Niconico viewer. Niconico, by the way, is a Japanese streaming service, and they stream our shows. And we have a huge Japanese following, believe it or not, so it's wonderful to have our Niconico viewers with us. There isn't a drought here at the moment yet. Now, we're expect things to be pretty dry this time of the year, but if we don't get rain fairly soon, what are normal dry season conditions will very quickly turn to drought conditions. Now, if you look at buffalo like this, they need lots of good green grass to put on condition. They've made it through the winter time, and that's a pretty difficult time. This is the most difficult time, though, before the rains really come in and before the grass starts to grow. And if they don't get through this, if there isn't rain now, you'll find that their condition will plummet, and then they'll start to die off. But at the moment, they are all right. There is another vehicle just driving past us, so we're just going to wave at them. Hello! And we're going to go over to the Mara now with David and a Difasa water back.
Well, very nice to see buffaloes, but Buffalo's being that dry, buffaloes will definitely need to look for another source of water because they need water just like the cows. Buffaloes cannot do long without water. And the same case would apply to the waterbacks here. These waterbacks can't do or cannot stay for a very long time without drinking water, and ideally not staying very far from the water for two reasons, I would say. Number one, of course, as I said, they drink lots of water, and then number two, if they have any concern and they are scared, for example, by predators, would be lions or leopards, or their youngsters being brought down by cheetahs or hyenas, they tend to run towards the water, and they have known not many predators will get in the water, and they got some, their fur is hollow, and it gives them some kind of buoyancy, and so they're able comfortably. They're very good swimmers, and then at one point the cats, or there would be predators, would just watch them disappear in the water, be it a river or some kind of well or a dam. So that's the female there. You can tell she doesn't have any horns, looking towards the edge of the bush for any danger that may come out from that direction. So most herbivores or antelopes, that's what they will do: eat, stop and look, to be sure, to be safe. Not as many enemies these antelopes got. They got what we call warts on top of their skins. So occasionally when we get predators killing them like lions, they really don't enjoy eating them a lot. Girona, I think your question is what season we are in now, and we're in the season of the short trains. Short trains. In Kenya, we got, I would say, summer all around the year. Summer all around the year, which is broken by long rains and short rains. Long rains come around April, May, or June, July. And the short rains should have started by October, but they started rather late this time. But we got 1 month of July, which is like our winter. It happens to be very cold, very low temperatures, but we never get snow anywhere in East Africa. It's a huge male. You can see the difference from the female, the huge rack of horns. 2 types of waterbacks in East Africa, the common waterback and the Defasa waterback. This particular one here is the Defasa waterback. And as much as I say, not many predators will love to eat them because of the warts they got on their skins. Once in a while, if the lions are stretched and have nothing to eat, they'll hunt them. MDR, good question. How many antelope species we got in the Mara? There are very many antelopes, and we'll start counting them. Let's see. We have the waterbuck, that's number 1. We have the Grons gazelle, number 2. We have the Thompson gazelle, number 3. We have the Toppies, number 4. Hartebeest, number 5. Reedbuck, number 6. I'm still counting. Apparently, we also count buffaloes as antelope buffaloes, number 7. And then we have, let's say, reedbuck. Yes, you got both Bohor's reedbuck and the mountain reedbuck. So 8, 9. I'm keeping counting. I'm trying to remember all the antelopes you got here. I see the hartebeest, I had the toppy. So we are number 9 now. What other? We got Oribi. Oribi is another antelope. That's a 10. Which ones have I forgotten, James? I've counted 10 up to now. Thompson I counted. I think I did count Thompson. If I did, fine. If I did not, then we're going to number 11. We got the impalas. How can I forget the impalas? Number 12. We got, which one? Gazelle I counted. Oh, we got Dick-Dicks. Yes, number 13. We got elands, the largest antelopes we got in the world. Number 14. The equivalent of a steenbox. Yeah, as you go back to those waterbacks now, how many? We got 15. Yeah, I mean, close to 20, and I think I've done very well to count about 15 of them. Not bad, eh? And which one did I forget? Ribis I counted. And yeah, about 15. And we also got... We got Cax Dick-Dick, we got the Quinthas Dick-Dick, and there's one that stays on the rocks. I'm trying to remember its name. It loves staying on the rocks. It got padded foot. I got to remember its name, but at least about 20, so not very bad. I've done very well counting 20, and as I said, sometimes we count the buffaloes as antelopes.
Well, if we're counting buffalo as antelope, we may as well be counting lions as well. No, buffalo are not antelopes, David. Let us count the wildebeest as antelope, rather. Buffalo are closely related, of course, to antelopes, as the bovinae, or bovidae, sorry. I don't think you can strictly call them antelope. Anyway, here they are, still at Bivelshoek Waterhole, one of them chewing the cud in the mud. See what I did there? I didn't mean to do that. Chewing the cud in the mud. The rest of them are now starting to amble gently off towards the northeast. I'd say a herd of about maybe 100 animals or so. Not a huge number. Craig, if you could go to the... There's a bull there. You see the ones that just ran in between each other there. So if you zoom, yes, that's the, yeah, straight in there, the one sniffing the other one. Now, I've just witnessed some quite interesting dominance behavior here. Let us observe and see if it happens again. Youngish bull in front, bigger bull behind, but not much bigger. He's definitely trying to exert his authority slightly. So that it can take place like that, or it can take the place of, or it can be, what am I trying to say? Or it could happen with mounting. That's what he started doing. And then, of course, there could be a full full-fledged horn fight, as there's going on the other side there. There they are, having a little bit of a horn fight, those chaps there. There. Sartaj, the best sources of water for buffalo are waterholes, basically, so rivers at the moment. There are pumped pans like the one at Juma Dam. If they went down there and had a drink at Vuyatela Pan, where Hosana hunts on a daily basis, then they'd probably find some good water there. And of course those are pumped, so the water would be replaced if they drank it all. Otherwise, things are not great for these buffalo at the moment. There's not a lot of water around. And they're not looking in dire condition, but they're not looking particularly good either. Ribs are showing, hips are showing. Now, interestingly, some of them seem to have decided to lie down, and the rest of them have headed off. And I'm assuming that the pathfinders, those who are sort of in charge of finding where they're supposed to go, have decided to head off. And a couple of old bulls have thought, no, let's have a little lie down here at the mud wallow. You can imagine a few of them trying to light up a cigar and quaffing a fine malt whiskey, looking distinguished, or certainly doing their very best to look as distinguished. I think it is almost exclusively bulls that have created that little lying down group. Now there's a cow, straight in the middle of it, just one cow. And that's her there. Yes, KM, animals do drink from lodge pools. If there are no fences around lodge pools, you will find absolutely animals drinking from them. And at the place I used to work, called Ngala, not too far from here, we had elephants stuck in the pool sometimes. Calves would come and try and drink with their mothers. Their trunks weren't long enough to get into the water and they'd fall in. And so you'd have this hysterical elephant cow trying desperately to get her baby out and, unable to. And then you'd have to go along and try and get the calf to the steps where it would figure out how to get out. And of course that was a somewhat dangerous activity with the elephant mother lurking around. My goodness, the Vov has headed over to his fox den, I think, and there you will find him now.
We found them! We found them! They've moved den sites by about 30 meters. And we just had all of them. All members are out of the hole. 3 adults and 2 youngsters. Hopefully we can get all of them. I think the rest are just on the right there. They're moving away from the den site now. Probably quite happy to go foraging. They're on the right. Just moving through. You can see the youngsters running through the long grass. You can basically just make out ears. The light has dropped, folks, so we've gone into the infrared. There we go. You can see all 5. Isn't that awesome? And this is very characteristic of bat-eared foxes, to move around as one foraging party. And after the rainfall, I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of emergence of insects, which they're quite excited about. It's nice and cool, and time for the youngsters to run around and get their dinner. There's no provisioning of food, and the adults will not assist the youngsters in eating. They'll teach them the tricks of the trade, but if it comes to foraging, the youngsters need to do the work for themselves. Be no sharing of the food. We'll run around listening to the ground. There we go. There's some digging happening. This is so cool to be able to see it happening. Aiden age 7, no, they don't bark. Their contact call is really a little whistling sound, like a bird call, really. They are regarded as the most silent of the dog species. But they will make a sort of growling sound if anyone comes too close to their den. And, well, there are some hyena on the way, which we'll look at shortly. Let's just see how long we can stay with these foxes. They will make a snarling, growling sound if something comes closer. And most of the noises that they make are actually, we don't even notice the sound. We don't really even hear them because of the frequency that they're at. So very quiet animals in their nature. And you can see them moving around, heads on the ground. Catching something. Sorry it's so far off. The youngsters are coming to see what is it. What have you got? A little bit of digging happening. Now I'll listen with those ears on the ground, moving left, moving right, trying to train in the angle of the movement, and then with a very quick digging motion they can dig underground and scratch out whatever it is that they need. And just on our left hand side over here, while we watch the foxes get further and further away, we've got two hyena that are very close to the den site of these foxes. There where the hyena is at the back, the one that was on the left is where the den we've come to of late. So that's how far away it is from what we just found now. So I'd say a good 45, maybe 50 meters. But it's also right next to the road, this new den, which is very, very interesting. And I was hoping when we saw these hyena from a distance that they would get close to the den site and we would see the adult bat-eared foxes showing you what they do. Paula, well, we've had a bit of rain. That could be one of the reasons. Maybe the den that they've chosen over there got a little bit inundated and they moved to one that was a bit drier. But something that most of these animals do is they do move den sites from time to time. Hyena are known to do it due to infestations of sort of parasites, mites and ticks start getting a little bit much in that den site, as well as the rank smell of hyena starts to become a little bit overwhelming. They'll move to somewhere that's a little bit more sort of clean, as you were, and allow the life cycle of those parasites within that den to sort of outlive themselves and then move back in once all those parasites have kind of gone to the next stage. So it's important to move dens for that reason. And also due to the rain that we've had, it's possible that maybe the den that they had got a little bit more water in than they'd initially anticipated, and they wanted not wet feet. But the hyena is definitely looking at the foxes and trying to figure out what exactly they are, or can I eat that, or is that going to lead me to any sort of food? Unfortunately, I've lost the bat-eared foxes from view. We got them just as they started moving, so it's all about the time of day or the day of the week when they're going to start getting active. James, what's very interesting about bat-eared foxes is they actually will have a lactation period of longer than most sort of foxes, but they will reach maturity sooner. And the reason for the lactation being longer is due to the fact that the parents don't provision them with food. They don't bring food back to the den. And the reason they mature quicker is because they need to go out on these foraging missions with the adults earlier than other canids that will have food brought back to them in the form of rodents or regurgitation. And so the foxes need to go out because it's very hard for a bat-eared fox to go out foraging on insects, which take the entire evening to get, and then go back and regurgitate that for your youngster. So the youngsters need to go out on these foraging parties earlier on, but there's still lactation provided by the adults during the day because the youngsters probably don't have the necessary skills to get enough nourishment through an evening of foraging, because the adults don't provide them with insects as they go. That's each for their own out here. But it's important lessons that they learn, and soon they will be able to, well, at 6 months they reckon the bat-eared foxes are at adult's size, but these two are still much smaller, but already moving around. You wouldn't see hyena or jackal taking their youngsters with them at such an early age. It's unheard of, but that's because they're able to bring back, either in the form of the hyena, bring back enormous amounts of food in their jaws. Wild dog and jackal will regurgitate a huge amount of their food, even their entire belly, if it were, for the very excitable pups when they get back. But wouldn't that be wonderful if we get the hyena and the bat-eared fox interacting in some way? It's going in the same direction. I've lost view of them with my binoculars, so I'm sorry. Can't help you there. Bunga, you lost him as well though. Anyway, how marvellous that is. The hyena probably also got a bit wet this afternoon. They're heading off in the direction of where you normally find the Olololo pride. No doubt to maybe try scrounge up some scraps from them. They're feeding quite a lot these days, the olololos, or to go do some hunting of their own. Only two. I'm pretty sure towards where they've come from is sort of little governor's camp. It's on the river, and every time we're in this area we either hear them calling from there or moving to or from that area. So there must be a den towards the river there, and hopefully these hyena moving through the long grass in the Mara don't encounter a very large male lion.
Well, here is a male lion. I was just saying to Rexon before we left camp, I said I don't think I'd recognize a lion. And I am fairly sure that this is the chap we saw on foot today. I have no reason for saying that other than Djuma has not had a lot of lion activity of late, and perhaps this is he. We're quite a long way from where we saw him this morning, if it is him, and pretty sure this is one of the evoker males, one of the 3 young hipsters that wandered onto Djuma, found nobody here, so they thought, well, I guess we'll stay. And stay they have. And he looks pretty relaxed. What a blonde mane. Not a very dark-maned fellow, and I haven't seen the others for a little while, but I think this chap's mane is paler than the others. He's a very beautiful, handsome fellow. We had no idea he was here. It was very nice to just come around the corner and find him there. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to ease slightly forward so that we can get a slightly more front-on view of him. I believe that one of these evokers is quite skittish. This guy doesn't look skittish to me. He looks fairly relaxed. But I'll just ease slowly forward. Louise reckons not this one. She says the other one runs from cars much more readily than this fellow, who's been quite confiding, which is very nice. It's been a very long time since I saw a lion that ran from cars. How does that work for you, Craig? Is that right? It's a bit of a slope, I'm afraid, but it'll have to do for now. Now, I don't think we've named these chaps, have we? It's probably about time that we did. We'll have to do a poll at some stage. We'll make a social media video about them. And then you can decide what their names will be. Tesla, I think it is. I think it very much is the lion that we saw on foot today. I might be wrong, because we just saw him running. He wasn't very brave. But I think this could be the lion that we saw on foot today, Tesla. Now, interestingly, I've called them hipsters, non-violent lions that wandered in here and just assumed this territory. But he's got quite a scarred face now, indicating that he has had the bit of conflict that could easily just have been incurred at kills. Don't do it. What I mean by that is don't flop onto your side. The size difference between this cat and the male leopard we've been looking at is just astonishing. This cat is about 4 times the mass of young Hosana. And as Louise says, he does look like he's at flopping point. There's a little squirrel in the tree next to me. He's not alarming. I don't know that he's noticed that lion. Oh, the lion is having a bath. I suppose that's quite a hipster thing to do, you know. Have a little bath, perhaps Put some beard oil in his beard and put some smellies on or something. Do hipsters wear smellies? They do. It's probably organic. They're made from fynbos. All he needs now is a designer coffee. I'd quite like a designer coffee myself, actually. Craig, would you like a designer coffee? Just a coffee. Yvonne has made what, Louise? Apparently Yvonne, our technical intern, has made some coffee. Yeah, she made designer coffee for the FC. I suspect it was made by putting instant coffee into the bottom of a mug and then pouring water on it, was it? She said... Yvonne apparently is outraged by the fact that I have called the coffee she made instant. I'll let you in on a small secret. Craig, the squirrel is right here now. You see him there? Naturally now he's moving, but he's just... There we are. He's so close by. How he's chosen to live in a knobthorn tree is beyond me. It must be so uncomfortable in comparison with a marula, one of those lovely dry leadwoods that so many of them live in. There we are. Hello, little fellow. Now he's looking at us, shocked that he could have been seen. They are so cool, these things. Did I ever tell you the story of Pietertjie? I think I did, but I'll tell it again quickly. Pietertjie was a squirrel, and Pietertjie was raised lovingly by Greta Versveld. She was Versveld at the time. I've forgotten what her surname is now. Anyway. Oh, no, we're not going to talk about this now. Let's go across to David. He's got something exciting.
Well, that's the best I could have done, and just keeping my mouth shut, and that huge male lion going not sure who he was calling or roaring to, but male lions will always do that to re-establish their boundaries, and that's a huge male by any standard. Now, after it rains sometimes, when all the scent marking they have done are washed away, they'll always try and remark their territories. And one of the ways to do that is to also roar. He just shook off a bit of water from the rains that have been going on. And the males, with a big man, it would hold and collect so much water. You want to sit there, big boy? Excellent, but I thought you'd just sit and facing us. Why did you face away? You'll see him now in black and white because we are already in infrared. It has gotten a bit darker here than it is in South Africa. About 6:45. And we're always ahead of South Africa by about an hour. And maybe James still have some pretty good light and maybe not using infrared. So I'm here to establish which male this is or what coalition he belongs into. Margarita, you're asking how much energy they take to roar like that. And I tell you, yes, they do. But roaring for lions, it's very important. And what happens, as I'll try to reposition myself, they need to do it. And once they do that, all the lions will know this area is occupied by another male. So it's a lot of energy, and all big cats will basically roar, unlike the small ones like the cheetah. Just want to move forward a little bit and see whether we can see the face of this guy and see whether we can identify who he is or what coalition he belongs to. I didn't see the face very well. James, let me know when to stop. But I'm sure once we see his face, we might try and identify who he is. There's one that lives around this area. That's called the Scarface. Keep going, James. That's good. How is that? Is that good, James? All right. James is very particular. He'll want the car leveled in a particular way. So I'm yet to identify what coalition he belongs to. And yes, Margarita, when they roar like that, it's always so loud. And that roar has been known sometimes to go over, I would say, almost 10 kilometers, about 6+ miles. Definitely I'm not doing better than him. And either the roar could be calling other lions in the coalition of which he belongs, or basically letting other males know this area is occupied and we are here and we own this area. Huge male, I guess. See the eyes there. I'd be more than happy to confirm who he is. We have one that we call Scarface. They've got a huge scar on the face. I haven't seen him for quite some time, but I've seen him in this area a number of times. Hopefully he is going to rise and turn, and then we are going to ID him. But in the meantime, we'll go to some jackals somewhere with Vovo.
Well, we've managed to find another one of the small canids in the area, and the blackback jackal family is around. One guy's just going to try to get it on the camera a little bit far away. There he goes. Unfortunately, he is moving. It's just out of IR light. Let me move a little bit further forward. Two youngsters were moving around, coming to investigate the Batsy fox den. Ghost jackal in the darkness, Louise. You're 100% right. Let's see if we can find him again. He's here somewhere. Yeah, he's right here on the left, Bungay. He's at 10:30. There we go, 10:30. There we go. Beautiful little jackal. He was actually jumping. Oh, he's catching insects. Look at that. Actually jumping and catching them before he came to us. He was jumping up in the air, almost like a few feet up to catch insects. It was very funny to watch, actually. Oh, there we go. Did you see that? There's all sorts of alates probably coming out of the ground at the moment. Flying termites. There we go. Look, he's doing a bit of a dance. Well, there's at least two of them. One came past us, and I tried to move back to see him again, and I started the car, and it scared the life out of him. He ran. Calmed down again. It was a bit too far away for us to view. And just like this guy is just out of the proper IR sort of light area. We're hoping he's going to come a bit closer. So another den site nearby, the blackback jackal den site, was just around the corner from the bat-eared fox. So I'm thinking the two youngsters that we saw, just their behavior indicated they were smaller, moving around. You can see it's just a little bit too far out of the light spectrum for us, but well, we can hear lions roaring that way as well, probably the same ones David's talking about. A little bit too far, I think, but we're slow to head in that direction, maybe due to the cloud. It's sounding a bit further than it really is, but it sounds like it's a good 4 or 5 kilometers away. Okay, well, we're going to keep heading forward here, see if we can find any lions, but as you all know, James is already with one of the evoker males.
Well, not evocars, one evocar. The squirrel has gone. But I will tell you the story of Pietertjie regardless, because the evoker male is doing pretty much what Hosanna was doing, and that's absolutely nothing. Right, so Pietertjie was a squirrel. You will notice I say was, which means obviously the story has a tragic end to it. Pietertjie was a very small squirrel found by Greta in the Mopani woodlands of Ngala Private Game Reserve. And she nurtured Pietertjie. And Pietertjie was very small and very helpless, and she fed him Pro-Nutro, which is a sort of cereal, through a syringe, and milk and all sorts of other things to keep him healthy. And Pietertjie grew, and he grew. And Pietertjie would sit on Greta's shoulder at tea time when the guests came down for tea. There would be Pietertjie sitting on her shoulder, perhaps eating a small piece of chocolate biscuit while she poured coffee or tea for the guests, depending on their whim. And so life continued for Pietertjie in a very comfortable manner, and he would go to sleep with Greta in the evening. He'd lie on her pillow, and there he would remain. And then in the morning she would do what she had to do, and he would climb up. She would shout, "Pietertjie! Pietertjie!" and Pietertjie would come from wherever he was in her room and pop up onto her shoulder. Now, Greta, of course, was not a person that kept wild animals as a matter of course. In fact, she had grown up in the Machalapi. Yes, that is a place, the Machalapi, which is a place just the other side of the Botswana border near the Thuli block. And in the Machalapi, she had learnt a lot of bushcraft as a child, and she wanted to return Pietertjie to the wild. Now, as many of us know from all the tragic tales, this being one of the great tragic tales that I'm telling you now, one is almost always exposing oneself to tremendous emotional trauma when one releases a domesticated animal into the wild. Pietertjie was encouraged to leave home. By this I mean Greta put him on a mapani tree, and she left him there, and he sat there, and he made the odd alarm call. She didn't close her door or forsake him at all. And the next day Pietertjie was still there, and then he came into the room, and Greta put him on her shoulder for a little while. Then she placed him back on the mapani tree, because obviously the separation was going to take a bit of time for both of their perspectives. And then on the sort of final day of his preparation for the wild, she was going to close the door and let him go off and do what wild squirrels do, find other squirrels, find a girlfriend maybe, or some friends. It would have been difficult for him. There was Pietertjie sitting on a branch, and Mopani woodland is quite thick. It's difficult to see through. Not far from Pietertjie there was an African goshawk. The African goshawk swooped down, and in front of Greta's horrified eyes grabbed Pietertjie and flew off with him into the Mopani woodland, and he was never heard of again. This is the reason that I will not keep wild animals, because I cannot face the trauma of losing them, because inevitably you will lose them. It almost never ever works. No, I'm not telling you about my mouse bird. That is a really sad, tragic tale that I cannot bring myself to tell, which ended much the same way as it did for Pietertjie, except this time at least there was a grave. We made a grave at the bottom of my parents' garden in Kenton-on-Sea for the mouse bird. Yes, Louise, stop reminding me of the story. It's very sad. Anyway, this male lion is doing absolutely nothing. I think we're going to leave him, and we'll go and see if we can find Tandi and Tlalamba and see if they want to be doing anything. We're also going to hand over a telephone that we found at Beefles Hook Waterhole to Rexon's guests. Alrighty, let's go to David. He's got some lion calling thing, I think. Let's go across to him.
Well, lions, when they decide to go flat, they go flat. And I've been trying to investigate and find out which lions these ones are. And I'm getting convinced. Earlier I spoke about the Scarface. And I'm getting convinced because Scarface has 3 brothers. And something tells me these are the brothers of Scarface. Scarface, a big male, huge, black, dark mane, and got a huge scar on the face, and as the name suggests, and he got 3 brothers, and I guess these are the brothers of Scarface. We got 2 now. The first male we saw earlier, that was roaring. James, do you think I'm doing well? James is saying I'm not doing anything, but I'm trying. But I'm now convinced the 3 of them, or the 2 of what you have here, are the brothers of the very famous Scarface. Scarface for about a month plus. I haven't seen him. I haven't heard of him. He could be somewhere, who knows. But he was getting a bit tired. A very senior citizen in this area. And at one point you could see when he walked he was struggling a little bit. Of course because of his weight and age. But his brothers always made sure he had something to eat, or they would get to snatch food from the females that would hunt around this area. This area is always run and owned by a pride of lions that we call the Mogoros, and Mogoros are 3 females. And not one Scarface would notice or know they have hunted, and he would come and either cheer the kill of them or just first push them out, help himself, and then he would walk away. Once in a while, with the brothers, the 3 brothers, they would hunt together. So we got 2, and one of the other brothers definitely is somewhere. Remember, this is a very interactive safari. Your comments and questions give us lots of happiness, and you can send them using #SafariLive on Twitter. It's drizzling at the moment, and maybe that could be one of the reasons that one particular male is staying under those bushes of orange-leafed croton. Jasmine, you're asking me when is the last time I saw Kipuli, and I saw Kipuli about a month and a half ago when he was involved in a very big fight with 2 nomadic males, and I can tell you, just he saw them off, Jasmine, and he first saw off one in the morning, and when he was doing that, one other nomadic male was mating with a female that comes from a pride of lions that we call the Owinos. That particular female is called Butternut. And after Kipuli doing a good nomadic male, he came back very close to where these other 2 were, the other nomadic male and the female, the Butternut, which were mating. And he stayed there the whole day. And about 10 o'clock, went back to the camp. I had my brunch and came back in the afternoon. And Kipuli, Jasmine, remained in the same spot. But about 5, 6 o'clock, he was up and slowly and surely walked towards the mating pair. Of course, the nomadic male was like, you know what, I'm not leaving this female. Stood up to confront Kipuli, and Kipuli very quickly, in under 5 minutes, were involved in a battle, and Kipuli won the battle. And ever since, Jasmine, I haven't seen Kipuli. So I'll be happy to know if either of my colleagues, like James Henry was here in Kenya the other day, whether he saw Kipuli. But for me, just to answer your question, I think it could be a month and a half since I last saw Kipuli. Scarface, I think, is longer, could be 2 months plus now. But here are the brothers of Scarface. Age is very, counts a lot onto the males. And I'll stay here and see how this rain will go. And these 2 brothers of Scarface what will they do? And crossing fingers, we are going to see the third brother, and maybe most likely also see Scarface. But I think Steve has his own cuts.
And well, they're all popping out of everywhere. We decided to take a left. We turned around, in fact, because we saw the two hyena running. And we turned around and followed them for a bit, and then decided to do a bit of a loop the other way. And look at what we've got. Possibly the marsh pride moving directly towards us. They're spreading out as they go. Coming right up next to the car now. You're right there, Bongay. Yep. And we're going behind us. That one stopping to have a bit of a toilet stop. We spotted them with a spotlight and got lots of eyes. There's a lot. You can see them in the background there. You can see a whole lot of eyes materializing out of the darkness. Could be the river pride with a tail tip missing. Well, we'll have to look closely and see if we can spot her. That one certainly has her full tail. But we're very close to where we saw the marsh pride yesterday morning. And there was a herd of topi running in the opposite direction. Okay, she's going to decide to come right up to the car. Hello, that is the spare wheel on the side of our vehicle there. Well, they're all going to go behind us, of course. We thought we'd positioned nicely. Well, that is the way it works. You can't script anything out here on a live game drive safari. Anything could happen. Just like anything could happen next with these lions. They could catch something. They are moving back directly towards where we had the bat-eared foxes. So it's a whole lot of action with carnivores in this little junction here close to Little Governor's Camp. So we're going to do a little bit of turnaround, and very tricky because it's quite a muddy road, and go and see where these lions are going to. Jump on board. Let's see how we get over here. Very muddy roads. We kind of get caught. See, I'm full lock to the left. Full lock to the left. The car will not budge. So we're probably going to have to reverse out of this. It's kind of one of those. Yeah. This is going to be interesting. Turning around, Lou. Okay, we're going to have to go a little bit further up to find a spot to turn around. Once you get caught in these ruts, you basically just go the direction that you need to go. Okay, well, while we try to get out of this road and get back there to the lions, once again, David is with the male lions.
Well, we're just trying to focus along here as much as the rains have started to get bigger. And sorry, Steve, over about your lions, but those are things that will happen out in the bush. But our one brother of Scarface is still in the same position we left him earlier before we went to look at the other brother. And this is the guy who rose up and roared and roared. And how nice it was just to hear him roar. Excuse me. Are you planning to roar again? Hope you can hear the raindrops from the canvas. Yes, if he might roar. Hopefully, Lou, you might get the ambience if he does that. So as I said earlier, these are two brothers, and they belong to a coalition of a very famous male around here. All right, and Lou in the final control says once he roars, we're going to make sure it gets to you in style. And Scarface has been a very large male, forming four brothers, and he got three, of the brothers were a little younger than him, but we do not know exactly where he is, and none of my friends have seen him in the recent past. But how funny when it rains and these cats don't get bothered by the rain. It's still falling. I got 3 full layers with me. I have a rain jacket on. James, how many layers do you have?
1.
No, be honest.
1.
James, be a bit serious. Well, James, I can see you. hello, and I think the lion is trying to follow that moth. And I would say the lion has only one layer, just its own skin. Doesn't seem bothered by the heavy drops that are falling during our short rains. And I'm not surprised if the short rains will turn out to be long rains again. The long rains for this year were double the size, or double the amount rather, and the period they extended, and they almost shut down the Mara to many cars. We have always seen some vehicles doing safaris in the Masai Mara, like Nissans or small little buses, and those were shut off for like about a month or so. Only the very good four-wheel drives could manage to be on the road. But even those very good ones, like what we have now, stayed on the big road, and you could not venture to go off-road because of the rains. And the Mara gets complicated. We have lots of black cotton soil and gets very sticky when it rains. Mr. Lion, either you go close to your brother and you either snuggle, or you tell us where the other brother is, because there should be three of you. Again, remember, this is an interactive safari. Comment, very welcome. Questions, 2 on #SafariLive on Twitter. When you saw him rise up initially, he stood up, shook his head or the neck just to get rid of the excess water that has collected or formed on his mane. That's the one downside, I would say, of being a male lion. Yes, and Lou in the final controls says he needs just to roar again, and I agree with you 100%, because as they do that, they tend to move their rib cage and the whole body seems to vibrate, and I'm sure that way a lot of water will be dropped from his body. For those who have never joined us before, this is a coalition of males, and they're led by one dominant male that's called the Scarface, who we haven't seen for quite some time, and just enjoying this breeze of rain. Alphaza, your question is, are these lions considered endangered? And I would say no. And looking at the IUCN listing, the lions in the Mara are doing very well. For me, I would say they are thriving, not surviving. Unlike the cheetahs, who I think are a little bit, there's a bit of concern on the cheetahs because of loss of habitat. The lions adapt very well, just like the hyenas. So, Alphaza, I'll tell you, the lions are doing well in the Mara. They're doing well in Serengeti. Huge space, considering the acreage, a pride of lions or coalition of males would need. I think for now we have the right number of lions, and they are growing and going up. And should we lose any, it's because of the natural causes or reasons why we would lose lions. And thankfully it's not because of man. Man of late, the last maybe 15-20 years, have been blamed for loss of habitat for some cats, like the cheetahs in particular. We'll continue here and see how this rains will go. And these 3 or 2 brothers for now, whether will show us the third brother. I think Stivovo's lions, the numbers are growing.
Thanks, David. Well, we've managed to get off of that road. We had to reverse all the way back to this road that's capped with gravel. And, there's no slipping and sliding here. And we are trying to count how many lions there are, in fact, moving in front of us. And they're about to get to the den site of the bat-eared foxes. So we're going to keep going as we're losing them in the IR range. The rain is falling once again, but it's falling straight down. So if we're not moving, it's not a problem. But as soon as we stop moving, well, then I'm getting wet. But that's okay. I am waterproof. The necessary equipment in the front chair is in good hands. See if we can get a number on them, Bongai. I think I counted 11. Okay, 11 It's hard, really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Really hard. They're all moving. Some are quite far ahead. The youngsters at the back, they're all looking very wet and very muddy. No doubt they're happy to be on the capped road. If you don't know what I mean by capped road, it's basically a road that's been capped with gravel so that it doesn't have all the mud that we've been driving through and what the hooved animals have to deal with. The lions as well have to deal with, for the most part. We spoke about the mud. It's been a bit of a driving force in this drive this afternoon. The lions actually do a lot better in the mud because they're able to splay their feet like that to get more traction. Hooved animals slip and slide, and it's not the ideal area for them to hang out. So lions actually have a bit of an advantage when it's muddy like this. And maybe, just maybe, they will catch. Yvette, lions don't like water, most certainly. There's nothing they can do about the rain. Nothing they can do. So they're basically probably moving because they're hungry and they're probably a bit cold. So moving to get warm, and once they catch some food, well, they'll be able to warm up as well if they catch some food. But no, they do not like the wet. They don't like the wet invariably. So we just see if we can spot them again there, Bongai. We're having to walk or drive slowly behind them. And now they're going off directly towards where the new Bat's fox den is. And who knows where to. There was a herd of zebra and a herd of topi that way. But it's very hard for the lions to hear in this weather. It's very hard to smell. There's almost no wind. So everything is going to have to be eyesight. And look how they're all suddenly turning left. You see that? Something might be spotted. Let's go. We can get up ahead of them on the left-hand side. Oh, here we go. Here's one catching up. They're kind of spreading out in a bit of a net. This is exactly where we had the hyena a little while ago coming across. And, well, maybe these lions have spotted something. We're just going to creep up here a little bit. I think they might also be trying to play with themselves. In the road, there's a little bit of something about to happen. Ones on the right, I think, are just more playful than anything else. I'll have a little scan across the left here. There is a herd of zebra in the distance. Herd of topi was on the other side. Not sure what the lions will be able to get, though, in this weather. It is not easy going for both predator and prey in these conditions. But if anything, I think the lions will have a better go of it because, well, the rain masks their movement and it also eliminates the smell that they're giving off that any prey animal might be able to pick up on. And most often than not, prey animals will just stay in one place to avoid moving around in the wet and avoid the mud and the boggy areas. And, well, the lions do certainly take advantage of that. I'm still trying to see if one of the lionesses is missing the tip of her tail. Let's move up, shall we, Bongai? I think we can get up on the left of them now. Still on the capped road. We can hang, move from right to left. And when I move, I get a bit of a wet face like that. There we go. You can see them all moving up on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side there. And they've given us the ideal opportunity to get alongside them. And very good. They're staying with us on the capped road. That's very good. Thank you, lions. Thank you very much. But they are doing a little bit of a spreading out sort of movement out on the left and on the right of us here. Just in front here, Bonga, you can see two have gone left and a couple have gone right. Very uncomfortable conditions. Okay, where have they gone? There we go. There's one there. Oh! There was a topi. He got through. All I heard was the hooves. Somehow he broke through a net of lions on our right-hand side. My gosh. Let's come with. Wow! They had no idea he was there. He came from the right, folks. We had no idea he was there either. All I heard was the crashing of hooves. Ooh, well, the lions will not be done there. But you heard the crashing of hooves along the capped road, quite hard ground and as he hit the mud, it became a bit more squelchy. Okay, well, we're going to stay with these lions and see what they get up to, and, well, David is with his male lion in the rain as well.
Well, I would agree with Steve Ovo that lions do not like rain, and especially so the mud, because the walking becomes pretty difficult and they keep losing the balances, especially the males. But surprisingly, you look at this particular one fully grown male is not moving, and as the rain continues, definitely he has a reason to be where he is. If James would pan out a little bit, you can see the amount of rain I'm talking about. James, please show us the rain, James. Thank you very much. And you can see the amount of rain we got here. Not sure whether Steve Ovo has the same amount of rain, but look at that rain and look at that lion where he is. So we have brought the flaps of the car on one side down, so we have been left with one because the rain is coming at an angle. You can see all the moths and all the beetles that are flying there on your screen. But this male lion doesn't seem bothered. So what will happen if the rain continues, and again, as I said earlier, all the scent marking they have done, either when they poo or when they urinate, it will be washed away. They will have to restart afresh. They'll keep marking the boundaries. They know all their corners. They'll go scent marking until they have known, they have, remarked every important beacon to make sure that other would-be male coalitions do not venture in this area. And then if need be, every other night they'll keep roaring like what we had before. Caroline will tell you, as much as it's raining, most cats will still manage to survive. And you're asking, why doesn't he go under the bushes? One, he needs to see where he is, and he needs also to be having an eye contact with the brother. And he knows this area of this rain will not do him much damage. Very, very rarely we see lions or cats, picking up cold or pneumonia or TB, those kind of infections from the rain. He knows this maybe will not be too much, but if it continues raining heavily, definitely, I guess, he'd be looking for some shelter, because behind him, Caroline, there's some nice bushes which would cover him, and he doesn't wet himself so much. The brother where we saw him earlier, he was also in an open area, and another reason for being out there should, for example, would be prey pass. If it's under the bushes, Caroline, he's going to miss it, or him and the brother and the other brother would miss a prey. But being out here and on the very edge of the bush, should a zebra pass or a wildebeest or a topi or a buffalo, they can very quickly see it and maybe make a plan. But I would be surprised after a couple of minutes he'll stand up and maybe shake his body to get rid of the water. And you can see the amount of rain there, James is showing you. And he doesn't seem, concerned. He just keeps, licking himself. And wondering where the females of this area are, we got a pride of 3 females that we call Mogoro. And sometimes males have known to wait until the females hunt, and then they go and snake on their food. So what I'm thinking is maybe to try and move forward and find out if the other brother has woken up, or the third brother that we're missing of this coalition has shown up. There are always 4 brothers, Scarface, and this one we're just seeing here, and the one we saw earlier, and another one that we can see. So in total, they're always moving as a team of 4 in their coalition. So I got to back up fast, or I can still move forward from here and see if we can get the other one. All right, hopefully we're going to see the other two brothers, but in the meantime, let's go back to South Africa to James Henry.
Right, hello everybody. We've been off on foot searching around where we saw some vultures, but we didn't find anything. But then we heard a male leopard calling, almost said Tingana. Craig heard him first and thought that he was heading across this way towards where we are now. So, if you don't mind, we're going to sit here for exactly 45 seconds. I'll set the timer. Wait. And then if he calls again, we'll know. Stopwatch. 45. Start. Okay. Here we go, everybody. Are you ready? Eli, it depends on who's marking territory where, but the maximum number of leopards you'd expect to find on Djuma would be Tandi, Tlalamba, Tingana, Hosana, and maybe Shidulu, and maybe the Hukumuri. So you wouldn't expect to find more than 6. Normally Hukumuri and Shidulu wouldn't be around, and so probably those 4. Sometimes Tingana is off the reserve as well, marking territory where he has been before, in fact until right now, and so then you'd only have 3, and sometimes Tandi's in Torchwood, so then maybe you'd only have 2. Sometimes Tlalamba might also be on Torchwood, and then you'd only have 1. So it really does depend on the time, you know, on their whims and what they're doing. It's 55 seconds now and he hasn't called again. Let's go around the corner. This is why we need an electric vehicle, because then we can just drive along and listen. It's a big nasty block in here, so you don't really want to have to drive in there. But also that lion is not very far from where we are now. I'm interested that whatever male leopard it is, most likely Tingana is calling. Obviously doesn't know there's a lion there. No, Bob, I don't think Tandi will be in danger from Hosana. He might mate with her. It'll be a real kind of incestuous Mrs. Robinson situation, but no, I don't think that he'd ever pose a danger to her. Yeah, well, I mean, Tingana obviously doesn't pose a danger to her, we don't think, unless she mates with another male, perhaps. So no, I don't think Hosana will either. I'm just going to stop here and have another little listen. I suspect that he will walk through that block. I don't think that he'll come along this road because the lion is just up there. So let's have one more listen of 45 seconds. Sorry, Craig. Craig, how many times did you hear him call? Twice. Craig heard him call twice. Claudia and I only heard him call once while we were off the car. Nope. Okay, let's move a bit. You could easily go down Central Road, but I'm not sure. Let's just go a little bit further, turn around, and then go back the way. In the meantime, the Vove finds himself still in the Masimara with, I think, some lions. Let us hope they're hunting.
Thanks, James. We're trying really hard to see what's going on here. These lions have all moved into the block on our left-hand side. The rain, you can see, is pouring down. We've got the front covers of our vehicle down, and I just saw the lions running. They're just running in the block over there. The running motion, when you see youngsters running like that, it means they've caught something, but I don't think that they have. It's a bit far off, I'm afraid, folks. It's a bit far off to show you too much. We're viewing with binoculars here. It's quite far out for the infrared, I'm afraid. Come on, lions, come back closer to the road. Well, that is the best view we got for you. I'm terribly sorry about that. Not as exciting as it sounds, does it? You can see the rain is pummeling down. We had the lines split up on either side of the road after that lucky Topi escape, and one went for some impala, but they were a bit far off, and then they all made it sort of a beeline onto the left-hand side where it seemed in the distance there was a herd of buffalo. And now we're trying to see if actually anything happened, but we haven't heard anything. But it's amazing how the rain can dampen the sounds. I'm just going to use my light to see if we can see where the lines have gotten to. I think they've all moved. They're in there somewhere. Unfortunately, nothing to see. Hello, Caroline. I think you're thinking about the Sausage Tree Pride, which we have been spending a lot of time with over the last few weeks. They're much further south than where we are right now. This is either the Marsh Pride, Marsh Breakaway, or the River Pride. I haven't really gotten to see too close who is what and what's going on, but we did count 12. So that will be the deciding factor between who they are. And last time I saw the Marsh Pride, they were 11. So I've never seen the River Pride that I know of, but it's definitely not the Sausage Tree Pride that have got new cubs, and at least 2 females are pregnant, maybe even a third. Very, very exciting. But for now, I'm afraid we can't really see what's going on in the block there. The rain is pelting down. The lions have all disappeared. Possibly even caught something that we can't see. But someone who's still got view of his lions is around the corner, David Gitu.
Well, lions could disappear and then reappear. It could be anything. The thing is just to be patient. And I think the only advice I would give Steve now is just to switch off the car and listen. Should they roar, then he got a chance of, relocating them or just finding them again. This is the other brother of the Scarface. Just trying to either clean his right back leg there. Very typical for cats, just like domestic cats. And I've been trying to look at both of them and comparing. Which one do you think is bigger? James, which one do you think is bigger? This one or the other one? James thinks this one. Are you talking about the body or the mane? This one to me seems to have a bigger mane but a smaller body. The other one seems to have a bigger body and a smaller mane. Okay, he wakes up. Look at that. Stretch. Like a 4-wheel drive. And moving. Moving. I don't know where he wants to go. We're going to be finding out where he wants to go. In that small little bush there. Maybe he wants to get some bush. Philip, what would happen when it rains? The lions will just behave the same way. But depending on what they want, you'll see their behaviors changing. In rain, I tell you, the lions could easily hunt because not many herbivores would like the rain. Just like when it gets very windy, you get, Philip, some of the herbivores get distracted because they don't pair very well, their senses don't work very well. The rain is also the same for the lions, for the herbivores, and lions will take that advantage. Now, this one has just moved away, and what we want to do is to move back to the other brother and find out whether we can get any visuals of him. And either this one has gotten a bit wet, I guess, and he doesn't want to be rained on, and he could be going to get some shelter somewhere. There's so many good bushes here where they would stay and not get rain on their bodies. Not many cats would like the rain, but when they have to, they have no choice. So just want to turn around, go to the other. Come on, Mila. Move, Mila, go. All right, I've got my 4-wheel drive now, which makes it easier for Mila to move on. She's one of the best cars I've been driving in the recent past. But again, because of the rains going on now, the black cotton soil is not very good for any type of car. So you have to make sure you got your 4-wheel drive. James, hold on for yourself. Sorry, I lost the question there for Philip. If you can bring it again. I was just turning around. All right, Philip, your question is, what do I think the lions would prefer? A male with big mane or smaller mane? In general, not always, it's not standard, but in general, the females prefer lions with bigger mane. They have found out lions with bigger mane have better progeny and their cubs survive better, which I think it's very true. So the bigger the mane, I would say, the better for the females. And when we see them mating, as much as they'll also mate with lions with smaller mane, we'll also notice, let's see where this lion is, we'll also notice they will prefer lions with bigger mane. All right, just trying to see where he is. James, can you see him? Trying to locate, unless he has moved. So in general, the bigger the mane, Philip, the better. I think, let's move forward here, James. The bigger the mane, the better for the lionesses. But we have seen there's an area in Kenya that is called Tsavo National Park, where we have lions that are a little bit different. I personally call them the buffalo lions because they got very short mane, but they still have females and they mate and they'll get cubs, and they got very short mane but very big paws and very big legs. We call them the buffalo lions, and those ones do not have as big mane. So I think our lion must have moved a little bit. We can't see it anywhere. This is the last we saw him. Did you see him, James? We want to search and find out if he has gone looking for some shelter because the rains are getting much heavier. But as we do that, let's find out what James Henry will tell us.
We've got Tingana. He is walking just over here. We've just got a bit of thick bush to navigate. He was, I thought, going, well, he was facing the other way when we found him. The male lion is not too far from here. So there's quite a lot of thick stuff here. We just need to navigate our way, and then we will try and show you the actual cat. I think he's going to pitch up on the road fairly soon. There he is. Walking off towards the termite mound. That is Tingana, the 13-year-old Duke of Juma, looking in very fine form. Hasn't called again. I know many of you will be happy to see him. I haven't seen him since the, well, shall we say, dastardly act he performed on Miela, the leopard, the other day. Fat lion is still fast asleep, not doing anything at all. Oh, big hole. Quite a few aardvark burrows in this area. A small matter of R1 million FLIR camera on the front of our normal camera, so I need to be a little bit careful about the bush I drive through. Right, we'll go through this part. The road is not far from here. I just don't want to lose him in case he doesn't go onto the road. I'm pretty sure he will. Now he's listening and looking. Alrighty. That's going to be a bit of a crunch over this Gymnosporia bush. Sorry everybody. Hold on tight. Oh, goodness gracious, Craig. Still got your head? I'm going to go onto the road. I think that's where he's going. Okay, here we go. We'll get a view of him now, I promise. There we go. Marvellous. What a big boy. Look at him posing perfectly there. Possibly seeing something he might like to eat, which is everything. Somebody better tell Hosanna to start eating quickly. Because although he's nowhere near Hosanna just yet, one really can imagine him pitching up at Hosanna's kill and usurping it. One day, of course, if Hosanna does stay here, he's going to think to hell with this and give his father a bit of a slap. And then the die will be cast in the endless saga that is Tingana and Hosanna. Dun, dun, dun. And go. On we go. Tingana. Miss Anamandris, I agree completely. He can afford to give quite a lot to his old dad. His old dad. We're going to go to infrared now, everybody. Well done, Craig. Sounded like a very complicated process. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See how he listens now for an answer. It is interesting to me that the dewlap of a leopard is considered attractive, whereas if a human being gets a dewlap, it's really not considered very attractive at all. The dewlap, of course, that flap of skin that hangs beneath the jowl. Oh, no, we're going to carry on following this chap, but Steve Ovo has got something interesting in the rain.
Welcome, folks. We have found the lions have just killed an impala, and thankfully it is right next to the road. There you can see the suffocation is busy happening as we speak. We've had to travel quite a distance to get to where we are right now. I'm a bit out of breath. The lion's very quiet, not making a sound at the moment. Not a single sound. We didn't hear any of this. We had to go all the way around, find another road through the marsh. And folks, what you're seeing now is nature. If you are sensitive, please look away. This impala is dying. It is not quite dead yet, but the lion is administering the suffocation stranglehold, which is necessary to cut off the windpipe, and in moments the life force will be gone from this animal. So not for sensitive viewers, but this is nature. It's a male impala, no doubt, but confused with the rainfall. But all 12 of these lions, if they do manage to catch up, this will not go very far. But don't go anywhere, because in moments this is going to turn into an absolutely loud and raucous affair as the lions start to rip apart and share the impala and eat as much as they possibly can. There's only 3 on the scene at the moment. The rest of them are still stalking up somewhere behind. But our good graces. The impala and the lion attack has happened right next to the road, 2 or 3 meters from the road. It could have happened anywhere in the block. We would not have been able to see it. It doesn't seem like that lioness has actually got the stranglehold in the right place. The impala is still kicking a little bit. The other two, though, are not waiting around. They've started feeding already, which can sometimes be a very gruesome way to go. Hyena do not strangle their prey, they eat them alive. Animal ends up dying of blood loss and shock. But interestingly, the lions will not call their family members into the scene. If you are lucky enough to be close enough as a lion, well, you will eat. If you're not, well, you're going to have to find your own food. It is pitch black outside. We're looking at this with the infrared. Thankfully, it's just within our range. But spare a thought for the lioness that is doing the work of killing the animal. It is instinctive. As a solo predator, you want an animal to not make the distress sounds that they make, which attract other predators. There could be male lions, there could be another pride nearby. Generally, a large pride doesn't have too much competition in the way of other predators moving in. But a smaller predator always has to kill that animal silently. Certainly, Lou. I think we'll certainly invite some more people on board shortly. I have a feeling the rest of these lions are going to materialize out of nowhere. Some of them are coming. I just had a little look off to the left hand side, but they're still quite far off. I don't think they know what has happened here. Debbie, that impala is not going to go very far. You're right. You're right. And these 3 lioness will probably eat most of it if the others don't get here in time. But if the others get here in time, you will see an enormous amount of battle fury ensue. For the moment, there's enough feeding places for the 3 of them, but as soon as the feeding places become less, the bigger and stronger individuals dominate at the feeding site. And it's hard to tell right now if the impala is still alive. The movements that are happening are due to the animals feeding on it. It hasn't blinked again. The tongue has lolled out in that characteristic dead fashion. The lioness still holding on. It is still alive. I'm terribly sorry, folks. It hasn't really got it in the right spot. Very, very sad for the impala. But the meal will be enjoyed by the lions. Yes, the impala is still alive. It is very, very sad to watch. It doesn't only happen to young impala that get tortured by leopards as their plaything. If a lion doesn't get the stranglehold in the right place, the suffocation doesn't happen. Suffocating happens in minutes. Blood loss and dying of shock a little bit longer than that. But I have no doubt the animal is in so much shock at the moment that it is probably not feeling any of this. Probably still hear the pitter-patter of rain down on our roof. Okay, so it's going to reposition its stranglehold now. Probably a 60-65 kilogram animal. Sally says, let go impala, go into the light. Yes, well, I think it wishes it could. It's not far off now. It's readjusted its stranglehold. And in moments, folks, even if it's just these 3 lioness, you're going to see some very interesting interaction as they compete for the site. There are 5 lions on their way that I can spot just off to the left. You can see this one is looking at them in the direction. And within the next minute, there, the impala's gone, folks. In the next minute, you're going to see all sorts unfold here. Now, the lioness who did all of the work seemingly is going to go call her youngsters. That's very polite of you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Be aware, not for sensitive viewers, we have found what we believe to be either the marsh pride or the river pride have just taken down a male impala. In the darkness, in the infrared light we sit, they are feeding on it. The impala has just passed away. 2 lionesses are currently feeding. You're most welcome to drop any questions or comments below. Good evening, my name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Bongay, and we are in the rain. That is why the covers are up above like this, so please bear with us. You had a little soft pitter-patter of rain, but let's view these lions. There were 12 lions we saw 15 to 20 minutes ago hunting, moving through the open plains, and 1 lioness caught this impala, strangled it. The 2 lionesses were feeding on it before it gave its last breath. And well, the 3rd lioness moved off, we think, to go and get the rest of the pride. They are still a little bit away. It's possible that there's been more than 1 kill in the open area here. We can't really see. It is quite far to where the other lions are at the moment, but some of them are on their way. But yes, this is nature, not for sensitive viewers. This is coming to 100% live from the Mara Triangle, where those lions are using the side of their teeth, the carnassial shear, to shear and cut and tear at the sinew and bone and flesh of the impala. Ron, I don't know where the male lion is. The last couple of days we've seen this pride. Oh, there we go. Here comes a 3rd. There's a youngster. We don't know where the male is, but last time we saw the males, they were a little bit further away from here. Here we go, some youngsters moving in. Ooh. Okay, now there's always going to be a little bit of negative behavior when lions join a kill, and they all come in. You can see there's only so many more spots that a lion can come in and feed on, and well, they're going to start tugging and pulling, and as the impala gets less, so does the aggression around the feeding site. And with only 4 there at the moment, 2 adults and 2 youngsters, things are still quite calm and quite relaxed. But it's very important behavior for, that's a young male on the left there, very important for them to be able to compete at these feeding times if they want to be strong and keep up with the pride. If you can't get into the food, let's listen. There's some action happening. Hello Sam, we are in the Mara Triangle. We are in the marsh area in a very thick black cotton soil. The rain is falling down. We are not far from the river, probably a couple of k's from the Mara River, so we're not that far really. And thankfully, right next to the road, this has all gone down. And you can see the lions are really enjoying going inside, feeding on the internal organs first. The impala is dead, folks. And those of you who are just joining us, we are in black and white using infrared. It is pitch black. I cannot see what's going on without looking at the screen. Charlie, good evening. It is 10 to 8 in the evening, Eastern Standard Time. In Africa, that is. And well, there is the impala. It is clearly dead. It is a male impala. And well, he is going to be dinner for these lions. They were looking hungry, they were hunting, they missed the topi, and we don't know what else they attempted in the open plains. We came around and found them latched onto this impala on the ground, and well, we can't really hear the sounds because the rain is kind of muffling it a bit, but the sounds in there are going to start increasing, these growling sounds. You see the lion's ears are all flat. It's one of those things they do when they're being aggressive or when they're feeding. Ears go flat in a form of fighting, so that when you fight, you don't hurt yourself when something catches you on the ear. Yes, you can only hear the rain. I'm aware of that. It's all I can hear. Every now and again I hear the growl, but it is quite muffled by the pitter-patter of rain on our roof. There we go. The intensity is picking up. If more lions join in, it will increase to a crescendo, but there's a good chance that they made another kill somewhere nearby, because not all the lions are here It seems like 3 or 4 are running towards us now. Give it a moment or two and we might see some more action. As soon as more lions join the scene... Oh, that looks like that might be hyena coming. Okay, well, if hyena join the scene, it could always get very exciting, because lions and hyena, eternal enemies, both after the same food. Oh, do you smell that? I can smell impala stomach content. It is quite a particular smell. The wind has just shifted into our noses. And the movement in the grass there seemed to be hyena. We'll see in a moment. They are moving closer. All I can spot is some eyes. They can hear the growls. It is in fact more lions. They can hear the noise that we are struggling to hear over the rain. And as more lions join this, you're going to see the space around the impala disappear. And with that, the weaker individuals displaced. Now, only the strong get to feed. And in lion society, you need to feed as quickly as possible, taking in blood, bones, fur, meat, everything you can at the same time. Kimberly, yes, they've gotten a meal. It is a small meal for a pride of 12. Okay, so I'm still having a little look to the left, and there are 3 lions trying to smell their way to this sighting. And they might be able to hear that noise. Ooh, that looked like that was a bit of liver. Now, the lions are all about hearing and smelling in this environment, with obviously nocturnal vision. So if they don't hear what's going on, they won't be able to know where it is. And the wind, well, there's hardly any wind, just enough to waft a little bit of the kill towards us. Look at those very powerful claws holding on. Charlotte, that's a very interesting question. Well, the impala's eye is shining due to the fact that it's got a filament, or a sort of a, what do you call it? Yes, a filament on the back of the eye called a tapetum lucidum, which is designed for absorbing as much light. You can see it in those lions' eyes as well. They're reflecting back. That is what the tapetum lucidum is. Okay, hold on. Just pan out a little bit there, Bongai. Here comes the lions. Here they come. At least one is about to turn in, and there's 2 right on its tail. Pay attention to this. There's going to be some noise. A few youngsters. There's still enough places for them to feed on. As it gets smaller and smaller, here comes an adult. She's going to have a little bit more to say than the youngsters will. She's a bit bored. I think she's the one who went off to get the youngsters. She doesn't look overly hungry. Now, it's hard to make out, but the darkness of the young faces there are from the blood. Leah, there is essentially a hierarchy. It's basically strength. If you're able to get in and you're able to fight your way in and stay there, that is how the hierarchy develops. If you're not able to stay there and you get displaced very easily, well, then you move out. And it's all about strength. And that's why males dominate at the kill site. Lionesses will always allow the youngsters to feed. It's kind of one of those unwritten rules. Let the youngsters eat. But there's a level to that, depending on how much space there is and how much meat there is. Lioness will always allow youngsters to feed, but there's a certain age that cuts off at. And you could see that one lioness that came in at the back, she's the one who actually made the kill. She's not hungry, she's not even interested, but she went and got her cubs and brought them back, clearly because she knew they needed to eat. And while she's going to groom herself, but something might happen. She might suddenly get a bit of a whiff in her nose, smell the blood, and once that bloodlust kicks in, it is always amazing how lions suddenly can react and behave. I've seen a lioness catch a baby wildebeest and bring it to her cubs, and then there we go, and the cubs couldn't open it. She was quite happy to give it to them, but as soon as she opened it for them and the bloodlust got into her nose, she became very, very boisterous, knocking them all around, pushing them. Okay, so they are eating at a rate of knots, folks. The impala only weighs about 130, maybe 140 pounds at the most. It's including the bones. So for how many lions have you counted there, Bongai? There's about 6. I've lost count. It's only half the number we counted. Very likely they have made another kill somewhere, or the other 6 are off hunting. They haven't made a huge amount of sound as of, well, they haven't made too much sound yet, but the sound of lions feeding can quite often carry quite a distance. MDR, there are no manners at a kill when it comes to lions, and most certainly you see how the whole back of the impala, the rump area, the back legs are almost gone. They're into the rib cages now, and once they get to sort of limited feeding sites, well, you're going to see the adults really start kicking it off. They essentially will break the impala in half, in pieces, and all sit off somewhere away from it with a piece for themselves. The rest of the impala standing off in the distance, quite happy that they haven't been spotted. Yes, certainly, Lou. I think this is going to go on for another 10 minutes at least. Definitely could extend for another 10 minutes. I'm sure some of you out there would be most willing to stay with us for a little bit longer and see if more of the pride join in and see what happens towards the end as the meat starts getting less. See how the lions are making short work of the rib cage. Incredible jaw power that they have. Poor impala didn't stand a chance. So I've yet... Oh, look at that sore underneath her chin there. That looks extremely painful. Looks like she's got a hole in the bottom of her jaw. Oh, that looks sore. Oh, I wonder what that's from. Almost looks like it might be from a buffalo's horn or some form of horn that's gone in there. Maybe she was even involved in the takedown of this impala and it went in. They're very resilient though, lions. A wound like that will heal up quite nicely. You see how close their faces are getting to each other now. Please feel free, folks, to drop any questions and comments down below. I know sometimes it's just nice just to watch, but we'd love to hear from you. Kathy, I've never seen a paw actually get accidentally bitten. No, I haven't. But I've seen many a lion getting a smack on the head, which is, I'm sure, going to happen quite soon. The youngsters will compete with each other as well, but they seem to be on one side and the adults on another. So, there we go. There was a paw on the head. I don't know if you can quite hear the cracking of bones. Almost down just to the bones now. Okay. The carcass is starting to get moved. As soon as one individual starts pulling it, it becomes a very interesting sort of affair as they start pulling, each animal holding on to what they can. How many of these have you seen, Bungay?
The second one.
Deem, you want to know where the males are? I'm not 100% sure. I think David was with a couple of the males this evening. He found, I think, 2 male lions. I'm not sure if it is the coalition that spends time with these lionesses. I think it might be different ones. But they could be anywhere at the moment. We haven't seen them in a couple of days. I think 2 mornings ago I found a male lion not far from where we are. He looked like he was in a bit of a courting relationship with a lioness. Where they are right now is very hard to say. I wasn't out this morning, so I didn't find any male lions, but male lions are all over the place, and they could materialize out of anywhere. I mean, we found these lions just moving along the road, so anything could be attracted to the sounds that you are hearing right now. Dina, a pride of 12. Well, I don't think this impala is going to fill them. Only 6 or 7 of them are here at the moment, so I think they might hunt again this evening. Lions will hunt regularly when conditions are suitable. They might just hunt for the sake of hunting, but one impala is not going to fill them, certainly not. A lioness could easily eat 30-odd kilograms, so about 60-odd pounds. So one impala could go between 2 lionesses quite easily. And well, there's at least 2 adults here, and I think it's 4 youngsters, was it there? 4? Yeah, 4. And then 1 adult at the back, who does look rather full. Jossie, the hyenas are also all over the place. We had some a little while ago, but a little bit further from where we are now. But they'd be attracted to very loud sounds. And at the moment, here we go, here comes another lion. Now listen to this too. This is when things get interesting. Be ready. See how they're all trying to get to a feeding spot. The lioness on the left. That one youngster at the back seems to have got himself the stomach. How interesting. See, now this lioness who's been staying out of it can't help herself. See, more have joined, and they're all going to be hungry still. This impala won't fill them all. So I'm glad that the sounds are finally carrying through to you. She's actually content with licking someone's back. Isn't that wonderful? Trying to lick her way in. One at the back has got something. Could have been stomach, could have been a lung. David, indeed, the lions are having their Thanksgiving this evening. No leftovers. That impala was fresh. We saw them catch it. We saw them kill it. No leftovers there. There will not be any leftovers, I can assure you. Okay, here we go. This is where the tug of war is going to start. Each member will grab what they can and then go sit off individually. No one will challenge them for the piece that they grab. It's that unwritten rule in lion society. There we go. That's my leg. Now that one will go sit there and no one will challenge its leg. Each one will try and get a piece like that. Lou, I'm going to try and count. It's quite hard to... There's 4 adults. That I am almost sure of. She got a drumstick, Yvonne. Yes, she did. She did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's hard. There's just too many bobbing heads. Too many bobbing heads, but we counted 12 in the pride earlier as they were moving. And now it appears to be a total of 4 adult lioness. That actually is a 5th one at the back there. Oh, Angie, I'm pretty sure they will hunt again. Whether they'll be successful or not is debatable, but there is plenty of game around. plenty of general game in the form of a topi, zebra, impala, and there was a herd of buffalo that they started chasing that we saw in the distance. So I'm sure they will try catch again, but they might not be successful. It might be enough to sate at least 2 of the adults, which means they might not contribute, which means 1 adult or 2 adults might get up and go hunting, or none. Maybe the cubs will still be hungry and the adults will be happy. It's really debatable. I've seen lions hunt repeatedly in one evening to support their growing numbers. At least 6-7 hunts in one night. Successful hunts, but many are missed. Hello? So it is quite relaxed at the moment due to the number of youngsters that are here. And due to the fact that there's so many youngsters, the pride doesn't want to make too much noise. Because if you attract other lions or if you attract a clan of hyena, there's no chance of standing them down with so many youngsters. You inevitably move away if you've got cubs for their safety. So it's been quite relaxed, to be honest. But we've still got a few more moments whereby there could still be a little bit of loud screams and shouting. Lioness is still content to just lick. I find that incredible. You see how the position of the impala has completely moved. That youngster's got something, looks like a leg. And that one has finished what it had and wants to get back in. Going to probably try and stick its head in there. Not always accepted. Sometimes they sneak their head in. Let's see how it goes. It's very important tactics. Well, to get into a feeding frenzy. Oh, Philip, most certainly. I've seen a sub-adult male of about 3 move in and displace a pride of 11 off a zebra. Immediately they just disappeared. He comes in, he's got aggression, he's got noise, he's got teeth and claw, and the pride just moves. They can't afford to challenge a male. They really can't. And with cubs, they invariably move off. Sometimes they might come back if they feel that the male is young enough or weak enough to be competed with. But a big male coming in, they will all scatter, every single one of them. And he'll make a noise as he comes in, and they'll all know it. And he'll hit as many of them as he can on the way in, and sometimes just that slap on the face is enough to make you realize that, no, it's not worth going back in there. Yes, well, it's very possible that that lioness is licking that one to get the water off. Might be thirsty, and it was hard work chasing down the impala and suffocating it. Leads to a little bit of dehydration, so it's very likely that they are licking each other for the moisture. See, this one's trying to pop its head in and see how it goes. But as these youngsters grow up, there was a couple of boys there. I counted at least 3 young boys. As they get older, give them 6-7 months, this becomes a lot messier because they're much more physical. They've got a lot more aggression. They really don't tolerate anyone else. And they really do annoy the adults. They're just a bit too feisty. Mum does the work and the youngsters, well, they take what they want. Isn't that a great shot? That adult is holding on to the spinal cord. Child of the universe, no, I don't think they'll eat the horn. The horn is almost, well, it's extremely hard, first of all. There's no nourishment in it for them. That's invariably everything that's left. When you find a carcass after lions have killed them, all the big bones and the horns are there. Wildebeest, buffalo, impala. And the only thing that ever really eats horns are hornborer moths. Nothing else really has the potential to eat the horn. Sometimes, if the animal is very small, the horn might just go in, just like hooves do. Hooves and bones, there's just no real time for picking around it. So a young one year-old impala's horn could probably get eaten, but it wouldn't really be digested. That animal would have to regurgitate that at some point, but they're not necessarily looking for it. It's just in the feeding frenzy. You can see it's down to the spinal cord and a leg. The two lionesses are holding on. Still no hyena activity. Duché, a hyena could challenge a pride this large. I mean, hyenas up in the Mara here can number up into the 30s, the 40s, apparently even clans of 70. And, well, invariably, prides that spend time in certain areas get into contact with the hyena regularly, and the hyena learn certain lions. They learn how they behave. There we go, that one's got the leg. I'm going to go take that off to myself, and a bit of takeaway. And the hyena will challenge them, most certainly, and they definitely have a reputation. Some lions hyena do not tackle with, and some they do. If there's a male lion in attendance, generally hyenas stay very well clear. But the Awino pride, for example, it's a pride of 5 with 2 adults. Hyenas approach, and invariably the lions move off. They just don't have the numbers and the strength to compete. These 5 lionesses have got a lot of youngsters, so lots of risk. They might challenge hyena if 1 or 2 come in, but as soon as the clan comes in ranks in numbers of 5 to 10, 15 even, well, it becomes quite difficult for lions to keep them at bay, and their confidence builds. But each situation is different. Each clan has a different attitude, and they also have different sort of relations with different prides of lion. Same with leopard. Some leopard will keep there we go. Some leopard will keep hyena at bay, and some hyena will charge in and chase other leopard off. It's all about behavior, it's all about attitude, and, well, they learn who each other are. They can smell each other. They know, ooh, I know this pride, or, ooh, I know this pride. You know, it's that kind of understanding of the last time the combatants met and the outcome. Well, it seems like things are calming down as the last of the scraps are in every different corner. This is how it works with the lion pride. Fantastic. How fantastic was that? What a marvelous evening. Lions in the marsh successfully catching an impala right next to the road. Bungay and I are super blessed. Thank you to everybody for your questions and comments and for joining us. We extended the show a little bit as well, and, well, obviously we're going to be finished on air, and well, Lou, I suppose I'm going to be closing. Yes. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Good night. Hello everybody. Thanks for bearing with us. What a marvelous evening. I hope you enjoyed your time with us and what we believe to be the Marsh Pride. We'll have to come back and find out exactly who they are, but it was a lion sort of evening with James down in Djuma with his buffalo, a leopard or 2 as well as lion. What a fantastic night we've had. Thank you for your questions, comments, feedback. We'll see you tomorrow for the big birding day on Saturday. Thank you. See you in the morning and good night.